All right, say it again.
Watch the last one at the bar.
Y'all subscribe to the Last Ones at the Bar boxing channel, man. We got some boxing fans out there.
Last Ones at the Bar exclusively talks about the sport of boxing.
All right, as we get started, make sure you hit that like and subscribe button. We're on Last Ones at the Bar, but we got a special show today. We got two friends of the show. We got my man Shane, and then we also got Ty, and also Vale is here per usual. How's it going, fellas, man? You know, we like to start these things off. I just want to say welcome to the show first and foremost, but second, how's everything going with you all?
Yeah, things are going well for me. I was just talking to Shane earlier that I was in Huntsville this week for work. It was interesting to see because you have your idea what you think Huntsville is. Then it's, you know, when you get there, you looking around, you could have a different idea. So it seemed like it was a city that I guess something big is happening there in the next 5 years because they're just building a lot of stuff. And then, you know, I went through the University District and it was like, this is an interesting city. But then also I traveled a little bit out into the country road. I was like, I don't know about this. But it's all good though.
I travel a little bit out.
My bad, Vale. I'm trying to see what it looked like on. Go ahead, keep going. My bad.
No, it's all good, man. So my week was good. My weekend just, you know, resting out, doing as usual, just chilling out, man, getting ready for this week ahead.
Oh, okay. What about you, Shane? How's everything going?
It's going good. I've been basically bulldozing down the backyard back here trying to make a basketball goal after I found some concrete underneath it. You know.
Oh, okay. I didn't know you were a hooper. You hoop a little bit?
Oh yeah, I ain't at your level, but I can play.
No, I feel you. What's happening, Ty?
Man, this is just a laid back day for me. But yesterday, me and my lady, we went out to Virginia Beach to this aquarium, and it was pretty interesting because, you know, I've never seen like sharks in person, and I've never seen like crocodiles or anything like that. So it was cool to actually see them things in person. And them things, man, them crocodiles are huge. So yeah. I mean, it was a good weekend though.
Yeah, where were they? Like, and how close were you to the crocodile?
Well, you know, of course they were like, you know, you're standing in front of a window, but I would say it was just a few feet away from me. I mean, it wasn't moving or anything like that, but it was blinking, constantly. And then like when you duck down and look like under the water, man, I'm thinking it's huge, like huge.
Yeah, man. So for me, first and foremost, my bracket is shot. You know what I'm saying? I think a bracket with my school. And so right now I'm currently in second to last place, but you know, maybe next year I won't do the bracket with a blindfold on. I actually, you know, study, you know, the teams and whatnot. So that's part of what I've been doing this weekend is checking out some of those games. And then also you see here the 25th to the 29th, I'm going to Costa Rica. Just like you said, one of the main things of the trip is, especially when I first get there, they got something known as Crocodile Bridge. So I got a rental car that I'm taking from the airport to the area that I'm going to is Jaco Beach. So as I go through, they say stop at this one bridge because it's called Crocodile Bridge. And when you overlook the bridge, there's nothing but crocodiles over there. So I plan on doing that as well. But I want a little bit of rest and relaxation, then also do a little bit of hiking and stuff up there. So we'll see. That's what my week is going to be looking like. And hopefully I get a chance to have some fun in the sun. Again, that's the spot that I'll be at as I get a chance to, you know, kind of recharge the batteries, if you will. Before we get started, and this really doesn't, not for you fellas, but just, you know, anytime that we have guests on and we know our guy Shelton, he might pop on as well. But I do want to put this disclaimer out. The views and opinions expressed in this program are those of the speakers and do not necessarily reflect the views or positions of the Last Ones at the Bar. Also, if we have guys that come on here, you might have videos may have some strong language. And so just be aware of that as well. Now that we got all of that stuff out of the way, we're going to go to our topic of the week or topic of the day. And this right here, when I first heard the news about this topic, I was like, no, champ, don't do it. Like they putting you in the mix. Like they trying to, get you up out of here. But the news that came out is this fight card right here is going to be loaded if this actually happens. And so there's talks, and they're very close to having everything done, is Deontay Wilder as well as Zhang. They're pegged for June 1st in Saudi Arabia. What are you guys' thoughts on this potential matchup between these two big fellas?
At first, I was like you. I was like, nah, man, I didn't like that fight for Wilder. But when I really look at it through the correct lenses, and I look at the two fighters and where they are, both of them are coming off the losses to the same guy, who's Joseph Parker, who is on a roll right now. Even though Zhang probably looked a lot better against Parker than Wilder did. But when I look at how both of these guys fight, I mean, it's going to be an action-packed fight. Wilder didn't look as good in that Joseph Parker fight. And that's, he's on the downside, but also that had a little bit to do with Joseph Parker fighting a certain type of fight too, which I think Zhang is going to fight a different fight, number one. And number two, you can't count Wilder out with that eraser. And we know Zhang is hittable, so and when you have power like Deontay Wilder, I think it could drop just about anybody, Joseph Parker might be the only guy that he's been in the ring with that he didn't drop. Like he pretty much dropped everybody else. So I'm not just saying that Zhang is just gonna, whitewash him. I think it's gonna be an action-packed fight, which I can see either guy, knocking out the other. But I do think it's gonna end in a knockout. And I will favor Zhang in this fight. But like I said again, I wouldn't be surprised if Wilder just sleeps him, even if he's just losing the whole fight. If he can't catch him in like the 10th round, that's it. I can definitely see that, and it's not out of the question.
You mind if I jump in, fellas, real quick before I get your thoughts? I don't see this fight necessarily. It depends on what your definition of an action-packed fight is, because these dudes hit way too hard. Somebody's going to sleep. And so once that big punch lands, that's going to be it. Somebody's going to be out of there. The reason why initially when this fight was, when I saw it, I said, no, champ, don't do it. They setting you up. Because nobody really wants to fight Zhang. Like none of the upper echelon dudes. Like they really, in Wilder, they keep doing them like that. And this is going to be a no-win. See, we know the threat of Zhang. The first thing they're going to do once he ends up beating Zhang, oh, he beat another old dude. He's Zhang. It's 40 years old. And this, so it's going to be that part of it. The other thing is they do that with Luis Ortiz. None of them dudes want to fight Luis Ortiz, and then Wilder is the only one who had the kahunas to go in there and get busy with Ortiz, and that was a very challenging fight as well. I think he can beat Zhang. I'm just, like I said, it's just you fight another lefty. Jelly is very, very dangerous, especially early. I think Wilder can get him out of there, though. I think he can really nail him with that left hand. I mean, with the big right hand, that Alabama slammer. But that's what I love about Wilder, is that he's willing to take these challenges. And so with that being said, go ahead and go for it, champ. Don't be like these other dudes where they buttering the audience up and they want to go with these narratives and stuff like that. Well, he's fighting this person and that person. Yeah, you fighting them. But at the same time, you fight minimal risk dudes. To me, I'm talking about people. See, people talk about AJ. Well, AJ fought everybody. No, he didn't. AJ didn't fight everybody. He avoided some people and he fought certain fighters. That's what he did. See, Wilder's on the flip side of that, where I think that Wilder truly in his heart, he's willing to fight any and everybody. Sometimes dudes were a little bit reluctant on facing them at certain times. And now that he looks a little bit more vulnerable after the Fury fights, now that he lost to Joseph Parker, or I'll fight him on a long layoff and things of that nature, they'll do that. But when he's right and he's on his game and he's throwing that Alabama slam out there and he looks like he did before the Fury fights, they wasn't really trying to jump at the opportunity to face Deontay Wilder. But again, the last thing I'm gonna say is that's what I respect about him. That's what I respect about Devin Haney. That's what I respected about Errol Spence. Those dudes, they're willing to fight the best dudes. And so, champ, go ahead and you know, I'm gonna support you regardless. You know what I mean? I'm not like these other dudes who gonna sit up here and take away from the credibility of your victory because they're gonna say Jelly Zhang is old if you just so happen to beat him. But what say you, fellas? What do you think?
Well, for me, I'm gonna say I think this is a dead even 50-50 fight, to be honest. If Wilder comes in there and, you know, if he's focused, which he typically is, and we've discussed before, you know, talking about Wilder being the king of excuses, but, you know, in a way you have to do whatever it takes mentally to believe that you're the best, and I think that's what he's doing. I think it's a 50-50 fight. You just don't know what could happen. Either one of these guys could get laid out. I mean, that's the way I see it. I don't see it going to a decision. I'd be shocked if it did. I'll probably lean towards Wilder if he comes in focused, for sure. I think that's my guy in this one. But I think it could go either way. I wouldn't be surprised if either guy got laid out.
Yeah, my thoughts on the fight. It's a good fight. Both of them are coming off, you know, losses, you know, to Joseph Parker. But I'll say this: if Wilder comes in with that mentality, like, you know, I want a body on my record, I see him, you know, getting Zhang out there, you know, once he lands that right hand. But if he's got that soft side, and, you know, like, if he's got that soft side and he's fighting like he did in the Joseph Parker fight, I definitely got Zhang. But early, I can see the fight going in Zhang's favor. You know, like you said, Wilton, he comes out, you know, in the first couple of rounds, he comes out guns blazing. We see what he did to Joe Joyce in both fights. But, you know, he is older, and, you know, in the later rounds, he gasses out. So if the fight goes to the later rounds, I can definitely see Wilder, you know, landing that right hand and, you know, getting Zhang out of there. But on the flip side, I can see Zhang, you know, getting Wilder out there early. So my prediction is early is Jelly Zhang, but if it goes into the late rounds, Wilder by knockout.
Yeah, I just like Wilder. He hasn't shown the ability to be able to fight if he has to back up. And so Jelly's not going backwards. Like, he's not going to be boxing him. And that's one of my biggest concerns. But Wilder does that, you know, he try to pick guys' punches off, and then he wings some of those shots. But I can see him catching Jelly coming in, though, too. But again, it's just going to be a matter of who lands first in that one. And you make a good point as far as Wilder been showing a little bit more of a softer side. Like, he's been having the silk pajamas on a little bit too long. He's been eating a little high off the hog, and that hunger. I heard him mention that. He was getting interviewed by somebody, and he was saying something along those lines that he couldn't, you know, get that passion back. And so, do you ever get it back? But if anybody can get him back right, it could be Jelly Zhang, because, you know, if you're not right in there, then you're gonna go to sleep, buddy. All right, says Scotty70 said, "What's good, fellas? Tuning in from Thailand." Yeah, good brother. Hopefully, you know what I mean. I'm gonna make my way out there in July, out there to Phuket. And then also Scotty says, "I don't know if Wilder still has the motivation." Right. He's made a fortune out the game and showed absolutely nothing against Parker. I do like the fight, and I do believe Wilder can win, but I like Zhang. That's fair points. With that being said, I like the card, man. Like, that is a nice card that they're putting together out there in Saudi Arabia, man, with Bivol and Better Be main eventing it. Then you'll have this one as a co-feature, and then we'll talk about the other fight that will lead the telecast off on June 1st. All right, man. Make sure, man, don't cap, hit that cash app. I'm gonna leave that up there for a second. You know what I mean? You can always donate if you feel generous. Go ahead, $ M-Town Will here. That's why you see it on there. My name right there. I think I got, West Millie Willie. That's what they call me today. And so make sure you hit that cash app if you feel generous. Okay.
I thought it was Willie Ocean.
Oh yeah. Is that what it is on there? Is that what I am?
Willie Ocean earlier.
Oh, Willie Ocean today. Then my bad. I forgot what day it was.
Into my car.
It is Sunday. But check this out, man. You see the shirt that I got on right here. I'm representing, our brand, Last Ones at the Bar. You know what I mean? And if you want to be a part of the movement, you can go ahead and do just that. That's the shirt that I got on right now. I gave one to my homegirl. She said she was gonna do a little bit for us, to start the telecast off. Pretty cutie, pretty cute lady. So hopefully she can go ahead and get that done for us. Like I say, man, people say that, Will May keep acting brand new. I said, no, man, we just got a new brand. You understand what I'm saying? And that's where you can go ahead and order, send any requests to that email right there, that 1-877 number. And that's how you can be with the movement to move with. All right. So now let's go ahead and get to the recaps, fellas. I know some of you fellas, y'all said that you saw like the ending of the fight, but I'm going to turn it over to Vail because Vail, he loves to break these fights down. We had a 5th round TKO victory for Dalton Smith over Jose Cepeda out there in the UK yesterday. He landed a mean body shot. Vail, can you go ahead and break down for us what you saw?
Hey, yeah. I actually didn't see this fight. I stuck to my words, man. I was like, I don't care. But I went back. I did see the knockout.
Listen, man. You come on now. We got. I can do the breaking down.
I know. I just saw that. I'm saying it. I like that body shot though.
Let me preface it. Then you can go and take what you saw. So in this fight, you had William Cepeda, the old wily veteran. He looked a little bit long in the tooth against the more compact, he's just a younger version, more sturdy, quicker, more powerful. It reminded me of the way they fought, not the necessarily style. I remember Manuel Stewart was saying, even when Shane Mosley and Floyd fought and Shane was having some success early, he was saying how Floyd looked just more fluid, and he just liked how the fluidity of Floyd. And that's what you saw in this fight right here. Jose Cepeda, he looked like the Cepeda that we know and love, but he just looked a little bit older and he looked a little bit less spry. In the first and second round, he actually had some success. He just was shooting that left hand. It was a lefty versus righty fight, but he was shooting the left hand a little bit further out. The benefit of that for him was that Dalton Smith had to always be cognizant of the left hand, because even though he was further out, he still was like kind of tapping him a little bit with it, but he was just too long with the left hand. And sometimes he had some success early, first, second round. By the time he made it to the third round, Dalton Smith, he got his rhythm and he was catching Cepeda. Fourth round, he was doing some really good damage. And then the fifth round, he stunned Cepeda with like an uppercut. And it was really the knockout that you saw. He kind of, the same thing happened. It was a delayed reaction. He hit him with an uppercut. And then Cepeda was like just stuck for a second. And then he got himself together. And then not too long after that is when he landed the thudding body shot and Cepeda couldn't continue. I thought that it was a really good performance for Dalton Smith because he increased his levels. Like, he fought a lot of domestic guys prior to that fight. And I think that they picked Cepeda right at the right time. It was really good matchmaking. And for those guys in the UK, it seems like their kryptonite is Mexican fighters. So he kind of, knocked that one off for some of those UK guys who've had like lengthy losses. I'm thinking about Maurice Lara and all of those guys who just feast off the UK fighters, Canelo. And so that was a good win in that regard. He's calling out Adam Azim. I think that might be a little too early for Adam Azim. I like the matchup. Maybe give Azim maybe 3 or 4 more fights. I just think he hasn't had his test, his litmus test to see where he really is. He looks good against the fighters that he's facing, but he's really not fighting that high level of opposition. But I thought it was a good win for the UK fella in Dalton Smith. So it's going to be interesting to see where he goes from here at 140. And Vale, I'm going to turn it over to you as far as what you saw with the knockout, sir.
Yeah, like I said, it was that Smith hit Zepeda with that left hook, and it was like watching that kid, when a kid get hurt, and you looking at him, and they want to cry, but they're not, but they're gonna cry eventually. It was like this delayed response until Zepeda went down, and then he went down, and when I'm looking at it, it's like it wasn't as, to be honest, I think Zepeda, you said that he looked long in the tooth, and I think that's more so due to,
it's been getting beat up.
He been looking, but but he been out there, but he been looking better since he moved up anyway, So this wasn't as like, to me, it wasn't as bad as a beat down as what your boy did to him, who I know you will talk about him later, but what he did to him. But
come on.
Tank.
No, he's on Pedraza.
Oh, Pedraza. Oh, I'm thinking the wrong guy. But hey.
But so it was a good win. Zepeda, yeah, it was a really good win for Dalton Smith at this stage of his career. Zepeda, he needs to, because he just lost to Hutchinson, and then he also lost to Prograis. Now, you got beat down against Prograis. To me, at this stage of his career, this is reminding me of where the gorilla, was it Smith, the one that fought Canelo, and he just lost to Munguia. So it reminds me of where he is in his career. When he fought Canelo, even before the Canelo fight, what's Smith's name? I believe his name is Smith. The one that just fought against Munguia.
Liam?
And John Ryder?
John Ryder, I'm sorry. Yes, John Ryder. So John Ryder, it reminded me of when John Ryder, even before the Canelo fight, he was like past it, but then he ended up winning a fight or two, and he put himself in contention for that fight against Canelo, and that's the fight that he always wanted. And he put everything into the Canelo fight. So now afterwards, and they put him against Munguia, he just couldn't garner up enough in order to be able to compete in that fight. And that's, to me, is where Zepeda is now. Even before the Prograis fight, he was really deemed to be long in the tooth, but then he fought that younger guy from Puerto Rico, and he ended up knocking him out in the first round. But at that time, he was supposed to be kind of washed up then, but then he was able to, recapture some of his glory. But he was able to put all of that into the Prograis fight. And then once he was not successful there, he just couldn't really re-energize himself in order to be successful in a fight against a young stud in Dalton Smith. I think Smith is good. Dalton Smith, the last thing I'm going to say about this is that he's good. Only problem with Dalton Smith, I just don't see any special effects. I think a guy who's really like a dynamic guy can run him into some stuff. So he wouldn't have nearly as much success if he's fighting somebody like a Matias. I think that this would be a good fight for Teofimo Lopez too. Like eventually, if he gets up to the point where he can make a title defense against him, fight him in the UK, because I think he can run him into some shots. He's very good. He just doesn't have those special effects. Do you fellas have anything in regards to that fight that took place out there yesterday in the UK?
I just saw the body shot. To me, it looked like it hurt. Zepeda didn't beat the count. So, salute to Dalton, for getting the victory. Hats off to him and his team.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. All right. And so those some of the other things on there, or some of the other fights that took place on that fight card, but it was headlined by Dalton Smith's victory over Jose Zepeda. Okay. Now we're going to get into next week's bouts, man. I'm very intrigued. I know that our counterpart who comes on, sometimes in Sheldon, he doesn't really, he's not really excited about the co-feature. But I am. I think that this is, and I think that since the injury to Keith Thurman, this is going to make for a better more exciting fight in the main event, which is going to be Tszyu is going to be taking on Sebastian Fundora. Tszyu is 24-0. You got Fundora, who's coming off a knockout loss to Mendoza, which ironically is the guy that Tszyu had just beat last in his last performance. Tim is going to be a 5-1 favorite going into this one. I'm going to turn it over to you, fellas. What do you think is going to happen in this matchup that's going to be a title unification match for the WBO and WBC titles at 154?
Well,
oh yeah, yes. I'm sorry, I thought I was talking, but I was on mute. But actually, I like this fight better than the Tszyu versus Keith Thurman, because you have a 154 pounder that's fighting another 154 pounder. I think all things equal, Keith Thurman is a lot better fighter than Sebastian Fundora. Plus, his style can give Tszyu a different look, but Keith Thurman isn't isn't a real 154 pounder. Number one, and number two, he's been that inactive, so those things works against him. With Sebastian Fundora, I mean, Fundora is coming off that loss to Brian Mendoza where he got slept, so it's still a vulnerable thing. So you have to wonder what would this fight be if Fundora at his best fought Tszyu at his best, but we still getting it. I think it's when I see these guys together, I think it's at least a 7 to 8 inch like height advantage for Fundora, and I think that gives Tszyu a different look because he's going to have to move his head a lot. Plus Fundora, he likes to bang. He's not going to use his jab and use distance, which I think would have served him better in a fight like this because Tszyu doesn't really have a lot of great head movement. So if you're a taller person and you're just jabbing Tszyu away and using angles against him, I think it'll serve you a little better than banging with him. And I think how Sebastian Fundora fights is going to be his undoing. So I think this fight is going to be an excellent fight. It could be one of those fight of the year contenders. I'm not going to say it's a winner, but it could be a fight of the year contender because Tszyu is going to get, touched by Fundora. And we've seen Tszyu caught before by like Terrell Goucher, but Goucher is more a counter puncher, wait for you to make a mistake. And Fundora isn't really that. So Fundora is just going to go in there, try to bang it out with Tszyu. And I think Tszyu is going to wear him down and stop him late around, I think I'll say the 10th round TKO. But it's going to be action packed. And I'm not sure if Tszyu is just going to, watch Fundora, but eventually he's going to catch up with him.
Man, I gotta say, I love Fundora, man. I love the way he fights. I love his length. It's exciting, and he'll step inside, man. This fight with Lubin is one of my favorites, and just back and forth, and like I'm 10 times more excited. I know Thurman is a more decorated fighter on paper, but I'm 10 times more excited for this fight than I would be if it had been Keith Thurman. I was bummed when they lost the last one, because that, like just looking at fight math, I was like, well, that's definitely going to take him out of the equation to ever fight Tszyu. So I was excited when I seen that it was actually going to come on, and I think it's going to be a banger for a while. I'm not going to go to the 10th round. I think Tszyu will probably get him out of there around the 7th because I think Fundora is going to come like thunder. And when you're tall like that and you miss, you really miss, and you're off balance. And I believe he'll get caught with something big when that happens. But until then, it's going to be a great, great fight.
Yeah, I'm gonna go with in this fight. I'm definitely going to go with Tszyu. He's been on a mission. I mean, he's been he stopped Tony Harrison. He stopped Carlos Ocampo, And like Fundora, he just got stopped by the guy that Tszyu just beat. So, and the thing with Fundora, man, like you guys mentioned this, he's so tall, and the way he fights, he likes to fight on the inside. A guy like him needs to fight on the outside, use his reach, use his distance. But for some reason, he likes to fight on the inside. And being that tall, I think Tszyu is going to chop that body down. You know what I mean? Just chop that body down like a tree. And I think Fundora, he's just going to feel them shots. And like Tszyu is definitely going to get him out there, you know, in the later rounds. But yeah, I do think this is a better fight than Keith Thurman, because, you know, Thurman, just with the inactivity and the injuries, you know, Fundora, he's been a little more busy. But in this fight, I'm definitely going to go with, you know, Tszyu probably by a late stoppage.
Yeah, one of the things that you mentioned as far as Fundora fighting on the inside, one reason is going to be them thick bifocals. He probably can't see that well, you know, from the outside. So that's probably the reason why he chooses to fight on the inside as much. But he gets a lot of leverage on his shot with those long arms. I think that it's a few things, and I'll get to the nuts and bolts of what I'll be looking for in the fight. I think that in a second, and Tszyu, I think the thing that would give him more trouble probably would be Thurman, because Thurman will jab, his movement, and I think those two things are what troubles Tszyu more, especially at jab. I was saying, even though he kind of wrecked shop against Harrison, sometimes Harrison would land a flush jab in his face. And somebody who's doing that on a consistent basis, I can see them posing problems. That's not Fundora's thing. Fundora, like you say, is going to be on the inside. So with that being said, when they're on the inside, I jotted down because I was looking at their highlights. There's two things that I noticed. I said it's going to boil down to this. One is, well, Fundora really gets a lot of leverage on those uppercuts. He dropped Lubin with one of those uppercuts. I'm talking about that was a bad uppercut that he hit him with, and Lubin was able to get up from it. But that's what I'm gonna be looking for. Is Tszyu's defense against the uppercut. Now, on the flip side of that, two things Tszyu has in his bag. You know what I'm saying? Like, he's really good. He has that chopping right hand. It's kind of like a triple G-ish right hand that he chops over the top. And I think that can work against Fundora, because Fundora is going to be right in there, you know, fighting against him on the inside. And he also has, and Fundora kind of hunches over, he has a nice uppercut too. So I think those two shots, as well as I'm starting to question Fundora's chin a little bit. You know, Lubin dropped him. He was knocked out clean against Mendoza. And I think that when you get knocked out in the manner in which he got knocked out against Mendoza, you need one or two soft touches just to get back acclimated. Remember when Lubin got knocked out against Charlo, he had him some soft touches, then they kind of got him back right. He doesn't have that luxury. So I think that that's going to play a factor too. He might be able to take some shots early, but after a while, maybe around 5th, 6th round, he's going to take that one that he's not going to be able to recover from. So I'm going to say 6th round victory for Tszyu. But it's a real tricky fight. And the reason why it's so tricky is that he's been preparing for somebody like 5'8". Now you're preparing against somebody 6'5" and long and all of that type of stuff. So it's going to be a totally different, you know, he's going to have to change his mind frame and the what do they call it, muscle memory, as far as what he's been working on. He's going to have to flip that. But I like it, though. It's going to be an exciting fight. Anything else you guys have on the main event?
Yeah, I'll just say the reason I believe, you know, Klitschko was so successful because, you know, he used his reach and his height, and he was so dominant for so long. But I just know that, like, his era, he didn't have a lot of great heavyweight fighters. And I can also throw in Gerald Washington, like when he fought Adam Konecki, like, he didn't use his height or reach. He just stood in front of him the whole time, and he was just getting caught with big shots. So, like I said, Fundora's style, he likes to trade with you, but at the same time, I don't know what his game plan is for this fight. But like I said, if he decides to trade with Tszyu, I think it's going to be bad for him.
He does the same thing, and so it's not like, because I've seen him. He was fighting the fight before Mendoza. He was trying to, against Ocampo. He was trying to box, But that wasn't. I think he was trying to put those wrinkles into his game just in case he needed them down the line. But he looked at horrible attempting to box. It was like he just don't have that in his bag. And in this one, remember, he was really supposed to be fighting his former sparring partner. And when they switched the fight. Now, the dude that he was supposed to fight was like 23-1 with 22 knockouts. And so that's the only thing that I was really concerned about. But I did see that he had been stopped by somebody who isn't a big puncher. Yeah. But, you know, it's going to be interesting, man. Like I said, I look forward to it. These are some of the you know, Tszyu's 29. This is his resume, you know, like they've been incrementally, you know, up in the ante. You know, the Goucher fight that y'all talked about him getting dropped. And I'm going to leave that alone, man. I just think he was cold. He came out and just got caught when he was cold. The Tony Harrison fight was a really sensational victory. Maybe Tony Harrison partied a little bit out in Sydney a little bit too much. And then the Ocampo and Mendoza. So he's building a pretty decent resume. And then Fundora on the other end, like I say, the big thing is he just got knocked out cold, man. And that was, how long ago was that? So that's like last year.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
He's gonna be out of there. Yeah, it's bad.
But he's young. I think he have a good career in front of him. To be honest, I mean, if he gets the right people, you know, I mean, they're definitely gonna take a loss, you know, but a loss isn't the end of your career, and people need to learn that. That's one thing that I wish would come back, is people would learn that a loss isn't the end. You know, he could have a bright future with the right trainers, for sure. With his length and everything, he's got to work with where he could be a force to be reckoned with in a couple of years.
He can. I think that he might benefit from moving up a little bit, you know what I mean, as far as being a little bit more sturdy. And his chin might be a little bit more solid if he puts on, because his legs are so skinny, man. Scotty is asking, is the fight in the U.S. or in Australia? No, this is in Vegas. All right. Very good. So now we also on a code. Like I said, I like this one, man, because this is a style clash right here between these two. You got Romero. He's coming off a controversial victory against the old man Barroso. You also have Cruz coming off a controversial victory on July 29th. I think that was Cabrera he was fighting. What do you guys think about this one? Who do you know, Cruz is nearly a 3-1 favorite, like 2.7 to 1 favorite going into this one. What say you?
I think a lot of odds speak to that Cruz is a little bit more highly regarded. I'm in the boxing community, not like, you know, casual, but also that he, when you look at their common opponent, which is Tank Davis, he did a little bit better. But I think that's more so due to style more than anything, because Tank was fighting a guy who he wasn't used to, you know, who's shorter than he is. He wasn't. Tank probably would have more trouble trying to fight a shorter guy than a taller guy.
I don't mean to cut you off there, but do you think that that's solely the reason why Romero is a 3-1 favorite? When you look at the two guys in their fights, they had the most impressive victories that you've seen. Who looks like the better fighter?
Cruz looked like the better fighter, but at the same time, he's moving up in weight. You know, he's moving up. He's already a short guy for his weight class, which was really lightweight. He's moving up to light welterweight, where I think Romero is more comfortable at, because Romero probably used to drain to 135. Plus, when you look at the styles, even though Isaac Cruz is a brawler, he's looked at as a brawler, he's a little bit more technical than Romero. I think Romero is more awkward. So I think it's going to be an uglier fight to me, an ugly fight where it's going to be awkward and ugly. But eventually I see, you know, Cruz pretty much pulling away late and winning a decision. Can I see Cruz stopping Romero? Possibly, but when you look at when Romero was stopped, you know, that was more so a kind of a counter shot that he was set up for. Cruz is not really gonna fight that way. Plus, he's not really even though he does have power and he get guys out of there, he's more of a grinder than I catch you once and you're out of there. So that's why I think. And plus, Romero is going to be very, very awkward moving around too, because he's so unconventional. So, and he has power of his own. So I see this being a equal fight, the first half of the fight, and then Cruz pulling away the second half to win a decision.
Can I jump in here, fellas? Because Phil, I hear you, Phil. I totally do. Only reason I'm saying because I look at skill level between the guys, I think it's a big gap. I've seen,
but style is different than skill. I think Romero is more skilled than a lot of guys. I think Romero is less skilled than a lot of guys, even in some of the guys he beat. So I don't think that's it. Even he was giving Tank trouble, and I think Tank is way more skilled than Romero. But it's the awkwardness.
This is the part of the show where I kind of get an unveiled skin so he can get on
That's
point.
Fine.
So what I'm saying is this: as far as skill level, when I look at guys, when I see what Pitbull did against Gamboa, when I see what he did against Cowboy Magnolino, like I've never seen Rolly look that. I've never seen him look that precise, where he has a plan that he's implemented and he's working that plan. I just see Rolly like this. Sometimes when I'm seeing him throw his punches, it's like, dude, like, are you serious? Like, what are you doing? And on top of that, now we say, and I would think that Rolly would be better at 140 because I thought that he was draining himself to make 135. It kind of looked because he's so muscular. But when I saw him at 140 against the old man, he looked in comparison to the old man, he looked smallish and he looked less physically imposing like at all. So he's still, to me, kind of getting acclimated. I don't know if Pitbull Cruz is kind of like the white Muhammad Ali, where he's putting on the weight and he's just more comfortable now throwing those shots. But here's the thing. Now, again, that doesn't necessarily mean that Rolly may not run him into something, because he is not necessarily going to run him into something. He might just catch him. I don't see Rolly having that wherewithal to like, okay, I'm like how Tank did him. I was watching that fight earlier and I saw Tank. Tank kept getting closer and closer. He kept like making him run into stuff. And he caught him a couple times. He just didn't put him to sleep. It was just that perfect shot when he was running in there and he clocked him. I don't see Rolly doing that. It's just a matter, these dudes are going to be right at it. It's going to be Tom and Jerry, bro. They're going to be like right there. And the fact that Rolly, I just don't think he has enough know-how. Once Pitbull starts to put that pressure on him, I don't know if he's going to really know what to do. Either you're going to be able to box the dude, you're going to be able to like maneuver and run him into shots. I don't know if he has that. And he gets hit too much. The only thing, like I say, is just a matter because when they're in there, he might just be a little bit too big for Cruz and he might catch him with something. That's the only way I see Rolly Romero winning this fight, is if he just so happened to catch him. If not, I say 5th, 6th round Pitbull Cruz, because once Pitbull get on you, he's like a pit bull. He's gonna be you mean like trying to get that little dog off of you, and it's too late, and then he's gonna lock on you. So I say 6th round. If I had to make a prediction, I'm gonna say 6th round Cruz or Pitbull Cruz, and he's going to shut the loud mouth up. What say you, fellas?
I think a lot of people give Romero a little more credit than he deserves for the Tank fight, believe it or not. From the people I know, they talk about how Romero gave Tank problems, but he didn't really give Tank any problems. The truth is, Tank was in control of that fight the whole time. That was a chess match, and Tank allowed him to keep coming forward to get comfortable, you know. And once you get comfortable, then you get caught by that power. Now, Isaac Cruz doesn't particularly have that same level of power, but I believe by the 3rd round, he's going to be, Romero's going to go back to that corner and he's going to be like, man, what am I doing here? You know, like, this guy's just he's way too good for me. You know, like, I think going into the fight, he's confident, but I think by that 3rd round, he's going to walk back and be like, man, what am I doing here? And then by around the 11th, he'll be getting stopped.
Yeah, I'm gonna go with Isaac Cruz by stoppage, probably anywhere between like 6th to 9th round. Because Cruz, he does got crazy power. We seen what he did to Gamboa. but in his other fight with Cabrera, like I think that style was just a little tricky for him because Cabrera was a lot taller, and he just kept pushing Cruz off. And but Rolly, I can see Rolly coming to fight, man. I think he's just gonna get clipped, he's just gonna get clipped with something big, you know what I mean? But man, Rolly, he's also chinny, you know what I mean? He was dropped by Tank, he was dropped by the old man. So, he's chinny at this point. And fighting a guy like Cruz who's got crazy power, I just see him getting clipped. Of course, Cruz doesn't have the IQ like Tank, he's not good with his fighting on the back foot as good as Tank was, but I still see Rolly just coming in, swinging for the fences, and he's going to keep getting clipped. So I give Cruz this fight by, like anywhere between like the 6th to a 9th round stoppage.
Yeah, and they got footage of him in that, like not too long after the Tank fight, somebody hit him with the same shot. He's running up in there, then blop, and then they end up dropping him. So yeah, man, I got to go with Pit Bully. He should change his name though to Pit the Bully. Beck the Bully, Pit the Bully. There you go. You see little Rolly right there, little Rolly, that resume right there. He got whooped by Marinez. We know that. His biggest victory was against Anthony Can You Dig It Yiggy.
Yeah, he beat your favorite fighter, Will.
Yeah, he got him. Now, that was a good win, though. I'm not even going to kill you. But that's not like anything to write home about. And then they go Pit the Bully. Pit the Bully is still relatively young, though, man. I didn't know he was that. He's still only 25 years of age. It's crazy. All right, now make sure.
Yeah, he didn't look good against that last guy he fought, like Cabrera.
I mean, styles make fights, man. And Cabrera, it's a couple of things that I think that went down in that fight. One, I think Pitbull was a little bit overconfident. He was feeling himself a little bit, and then also you had a long, tall boxer, and that could give him some trouble. But at the end of the day, when he's fighting against the fighter he's going to be fighting next week, that won't be the problem that he's going to be dealing with. That's not going to be a piece of the puzzle that he's going to be dealing with. All right, so now we got the boxing news. And, man, I like I say, man, I got a vacation coming up this week, but also I'm on vacation, man. So I think it's about time for me to pop a bottle of wine, for these boxing news. So as I introduce this right here, I'm going to do what – did y'all see that LeBron James, he got a little podcast with him and JJ – not JJ Barrera, it's the dude who used to play for Duke. And so they got him a little podcast, and they be popping a bottle of wine when they do their podcast. So I'm gonna go ahead and
you said Duke Grant Hill.
No, don't worry about it, sir. But they have a podcast that they have, and they have a little Chablis. So I'm gonna go ahead and pop a little bit while we touch on these boxing news topics. Now, we talked about it earlier, that big fight card that's going to be in Saudi Arabia. It's in the works for June 1st. We already got the main event already set. But do you like this potential matchup between Philip Herkovich and Daniel Dubois? And if so, who do you favor?
Yeah, that's an interesting fight. My first thought is I didn't like it for Daniel Dubois because he always looked vulnerable. But he's coming off one of his career, best victories where he really had to dig down against Jarrell Big Baby Miller. But it's a different thing going against a young guy like Herkovich. So Herkovich, the only time I really saw him have some troubles was in his fight against Jelly Zhang, where both guys tended to tire a little bit. And it was times where Zhang was giving it to him. So, but Herkovich got a strong chin. When you look at how these two fighters match up, Herkovich is going to be the puncher in this fight. And Dubois is really going to have to fight a disciplined fight. Kind of do what he did against Miller, but it's a big difference because Miller is kind of undisciplined. Plus, Miller kind of gave that stoppage away by standing in front of Dubois, trying to urge him to hit him and stuff like that. I don't care what you think about Dubois, if he's, a quitter or soft or whatever but dude can still crack, So I thought that was stupid. And I think Herkovich is going to definitely bring it to Dubois. So I favor Herkovich in this fight. But it's a good fight for Dubois if Dubois is looking to make a statement and impress. Because if he beats Herkovich, then you can definitely say that, you know, he'll erase those demons that was in this fight with, I think it was Joe Joyce. So it's a good fight for him if he wins it.
Yeah, I don't know if I'd want to bring them demons out. I think Herkovich is the guy in this one, man. He can take it and he can give it, and I see this being an early stoppage, to be honest. I think maybe 2 or 3 rounds. He come in there and just overwhelmed Dubois. But I mean that's a bold prediction, but you know, I don't know. I definitely think Herkovich is the guy in this one. This ain't Big Baby Miller. He's got a chin on him, man. He can take it, and he can crack too. And I think he'll get him up out there quick, especially in Saudi Arabia. You know, where he's on the big stage. So I could be wrong, but we'll see.
Yeah, I like the fight and I don't like the fight. And I say that because, you know, Danny Dubois, yes, he is coming off, you know, that great stoppage win over Big Baby. But at the same time, you know, Big Baby, you know, he was over 300 pounds. You know what I mean? He's off the juice. So, I mean, that was a good win, you know, for Dubois to get his confidence back. I like what he did. You know, he showed heart. He showed grit in that fight. But he's the same guy that, you know, quit to me against, you know, Usyk. You know what I mean? He could have got up and he just didn't. But, you know, Herkovich, man, he's tall. You know, he's got a lot of power. He's got the reach. He's a guy that fights from the outside. And I just see that being a lot of trouble, you know, for Dubois. And we've seen Dubois, you know, his eye was swollen badly against, you know, a slow Joe Joyce. So I just think, like, I mean, I salute him for taking this fight, but I think it's just going to be bad. I think he's just going to get, you know, he's going to get dominated. You know, he's going to try, but he's going to get dominated. You know, I think Herkovich, you know, he's just young. He's got the youth. He's got the power, the length. I think he's just going to use all that to his advantage, and that he's going to get, you know, Dubois out of there probably in the mid rounds.
Yeah, I think so. I think the matchup is definitely favorable for Herkovich over Dubois. Dubois, I really he's grown on me based on the fact that he's somebody who he went through something in that Joe Joyce fight. I think that in that fight he was a little bit overconfident against Joe Joyce based on the things that we talked about going into the fight, because Joe Joyce just looked so slow, looked so easy to hit. And what he did was he brought out some of that pedigree that he had from the amateurs by showcasing the jab, not being there to be hit from Dubois, because he just kept a nice stiff jab in his face. You know what I'm saying? And just being that big, strong knockoff George Foreman, you know, with the big jab, not necessarily throwing the big shots like George would shoot, but just the heavy jab that Dubois didn't have any answers for. I think he took that. He learned from it. He also, it put like fire behind him in terms of not wanting to appear to be a quitter, because everybody's like, man, you quit against Joe Joyce and this and that. And so that lit a fire underneath him. He had a pretty good performance against Usyk. And then after that, he ended up getting the win against Big Baby Miller. Now, Herkovich, I just think it's not a great matchup for him. Herkovich is long. He has some power. I think as it goes later in the fight, it's going to get worse and worse for Dubois, because this big guy that he's facing isn't going to wilt and isn't one that's been on juice in the past, and now he's off of it and he's even more tired and fatigued. And I just think that Herkovich is a better fighter than Big Baby. So it's going to be the most challenging or the biggest challenge for Dubois. And I like the fact that he's willing to take it. Who I favor, I would say Filip Herkovich definitely is the favorite going into this fight. At this point, I would think that it would be somewhere in the later part of the fight, you know, or latter part of the fight, that he'll end up getting a victory. But again, man, you gotta commend guys for taking on tough challenges like that, because he really doesn't, you know, have to do this. He could be campaigning for a Joe Joyce rematch. You know what I'm saying? As susceptible as Joe Joyce has been looking in his fights against Jelly John. And so Scotty says, risky fight for Herkovich and putting the mandatory spot on the line. It's the heavyweight divisions, and anything can happen. It certainly can. I just think that it's risky, but not really risky based on the styles. But like you say, Dubois does have some power, though. And so you always got to be careful of that. All right. Now, these are some things, man. Let me go ahead and take a little sip of this wine, man. Canelo, that's my guy, man. And if you've been watching this, man, this dude, at one point when we first started, he was like my pound for pound number one 2 or 3 times in a row, easily. And I was so he was easy to root for, because when you looked at his resume in comparison to other guys, it's like, man, he has the best resume by far. These other dudes need to catch up. But since then, David Benavidez has beaten Caleb Plant. He's beaten Andrade, and he's been calling out Canelo. And it's like Canelo's fighting guys who aren't nowhere near like in position where as far as what Benavidez has done in order to demand that fight. And everybody's like, that's the biggest fight. And he keeps fighting these other guys. Now, Canelo said the other day, his price tag for the Benavidez fight is between $150 and $200 million. And then Benavidez fired back. He said that, for one, now, Scotty made a good point. Not Scotty, Sheldon made a good point as far as that fight that he has against Gosdick coming up. I think they're doing him like Deontay Wilder. They putting him in a bad spot because this is a very challenging fight that he has coming up. Then he said that he's willing to do a catch weight too. That right there, Canelo will win that fight. But anyway, just these demands by Canelo, and the price tag is starting to backfire because they're saying if Benavidez, the Saudis, if he wins, then they prefer for him to fight the Bivol and Better Be winner as opposed to trying to give Canelo any kind of money that he's looking for. What are you guys' thoughts on all of those things that I just mentioned?
Man, at this point, man, Canelo ducking him, man. He's ducking him at this point. And then I hate to say that, you know how highly regarded we've been on Canelo for the last few years. I mean, even before the Bivol fight, I mean, numerical wise, we had him as our number one pound for pound. Like, it was almost no argument for a few years. And we were defending him as far as a lot of these guys call him out, but they don't fight each other to earn that fight with Canelo. But if it's anybody that's earned their fight with Canelo right now, it's David Benavidez. And then when you look at who Canelo's fighting, Muggia hasn't done what Benavidez has done to earn a fight at the, unified super middleweight championship of the world. So I really don't like what's going on here. Canelo saying I'll fight. I need this amount of money, and then you got Benavidez saying I'll fight you for, $5 million. Basically,
he said he'll fight him for $5 million, and then on top of that, Vail, he said that he can have all of the money that they get from the pay-per-view and all that type of stuff. He don't want no percentage of that. Just give me the $5 million.
Now, and at this point, now I'm kind of like, I'm not sure if I want to see this fight, and here's why.
Don't give them.
No. Let me tell you why. Canelo's ducking him. Let's get that out the way. This is why I wouldn't want to see this fight, because something that Benavidez said. Benavidez said, "Hey, I'm open to doing a rehydration clause." I don't want to see this fight because that's all Canelo needs to hear. It's basically just giving him a reason. That's all Canelo needs to hear. Canelo is going to take whatever Floyd did to him to 100% level and say, and then do it way out of proportion, saying, well, Floyd did this to me, I'll do it to this person.
Now, see, Benavidez is doing it to himself because, and Canelo did it to himself. Canelo's the one who said that they would do a rehydration or they would do a catch weight. That's what they said. So once they said it, then that's when he went ahead and said, okay, you want to do a catch weight, then we'll do it. But you can't say like he'll do what Floyd did then, because he the one who suggested it.
Yeah, and Benavidez' suggestion is rehydration clause. I'm open to it. Don't say nothing about a rehydration clause. Don't say nothing. If Canelo is saying, I want to fight, I don't want less than $200 million to fight somebody that's 20 pounds heavier, so be it. Don't say nothing about a rehydration clause. Don't even bring up weight unless we fight at 168. Don't bring up weight at all. So that's where I think Benavidez is kind of screwing himself a little bit. And that's why if this fight happened, if it's it's probably going to be at a rehydration clause. I'm not going to like it. So I think Saudis is as much as I've been critical of the Saudis and their involvement with boxing. I think that's good that they're taking a stand saying, hey, we'll put it out there that Benavidez, we're open to hosting the Benavidez versus the Bivol Bitterbeef winner, which I think is great for Benavidez. You know, that's for his legacy. He can forget about if Canelo don't want to fight him, you chasing the dude that don't want to fight you. You can't keep chasing him and making all these concessions is going to hurt you in the end. Because if Benavidez fights Canelo at a rehydration clause type contract and loses, then it's gonna be a lose for him. So that's why I say the Saudis is doing right for Benavidez.
You know, lose, but listen, man. For one, he's not. I don't know if he's gonna get past Bostic first and foremost. But what problem do you have with the Saudis? What they the ones who putting on these blockbuster events?
Well,
like, what problem you have with them?
Well, at first they wasn't gonna. First, they was only focused on the heavyweights at one point, and now they
do everything, sir.
They wasn't. It seemed like they were really keen on caring about the small guys at one time.
What? That's they. Oh, go ahead, fellas. What do you fellas think? I don't want to. He's spending their money.
Oh my goodness! I gotta tell you, Benavidez, just calm down a little bit. We already know Canelo's ducking you. You do not have to keep throwing these things out there. We know he's ducking you. Now, with that said, I'll be the first to say Canelo's got nothing to prove to nobody at this point in his career. He's done enough. But unless you want to say you're the best still, if you want to claim you're the best, you got to go out there and fight the best. This is a good fight still either way. He's ducking him. There's no...
Shane, I don't mean to cut you up. The only thing, I agree with everything you're saying, right? With the one exception.
What's that?
You gotta give up them belts if you're not gonna fight the best dudes.
Yeah. Well, I mean, if it was anybody else, they just triple. I mean, look what they did to Tyson Fury. You know, like a lot of people don't know this, but like after Tyson Fury won, you know, like a lot of people were saying, well, he didn't take that rematch of Klitschko. A lot of people didn't know that one of his belts was going to be stripped from him within a month or two. He would have to fight somebody else at the same time. Just things they would not do to Klitschko, you know, had he won that fight. I say take the belts from him, to be honest. If he's not going to fight the best guy, strip him of the belts. I mean, but Canelo's still Canelo, you know, and he's still that guy, you know, to a lot of people. But you're not that guy if you don't take the best fight. That's the best fight. I really like the Munguia fight. I'm actually excited for it. But there's no question he's ducking him either, you know. So, I mean, he got nothing left to prove. But that's what he should step out there and say. You know, like this beer is about 150 million, you know what I mean? What? Wow. Like that. I mean, and the guys, like... Benavidez, I'm saying he needs to chill because I want to see him get that money, man. I want to see him get the money he deserves. Like he brings something to this fight, you know. Regardless of that's sort of the equivalent of Crawford saying that Boots doesn't bring anything to the table. Are you kidding? Benavidez is the biggest fight. You know, it's the biggest fight against the best guy, and I mean, I understand where Canelo's, you know, I know that he's worried about that fight and that he's making it more and more evident that he's seriously concerned and doesn't think that he can win that fight. And don't give him all, I want to see a straight up fight. You know, nobody wants to see this rehydration and all of that type of stuff, you know, like, because then there will always be a question in your mind. Like it is, as far as I'm concerned. I used to cut weight, and man, I can tell you, if I couldn't rehydrate before some of those bouts, man, like, Lord, the beating you'll take out there just from being pure exhausted is a nightmare, you know. So I want him to chill on that, you know, because Canelo will take the bait, you know, like that's the Mayweather playbook right there, you know, like if you give it to me, I'm gonna take it, you know. So I just wish he'd chill out a little bit on, you know, on all these things. We already got the point that Canelo's ducking you. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah, I think I think he's asking for a crazy amount of money. I mean, this is a ridiculous amount of money that he's asking for. I mean, at this point, I don't know what to believe. Like, I don't believe anything Canelo said because at first he was saying he wasn't going to fight a Mexican, and now here he is fighting a Mexican. Cinco de Mayo. So he says one thing, and now he's doing the opposite of what he said. Like, he said this at the beginning, like when he had a big announcement, he was saying it wasn't going to be a Mexican. So now he's fighting a Mexican. But yeah, this is a crazy amount of money he's asking for. Like, at this point, I'm more looking forward to Benavidez to fight, either Bivol or Beterbiev at this point, because just what Canelo's doing, he's asking for this crazy amount of money. And, if he gets past the Alexander dude he's supposed to fight, and if he gets past him, I would definitely like to see him, take on Beterbiev or Bivol, since he is moving up in weight. So I would want it to be Beterbiev, because both guys are, serious power punchers, but the only thing that concerns me is that, Beterbiev is on the older side. So I'm more concerned for him to fight, Bivol or, Beterbiev at this point, just by the stuff that Canelo is doing. But it's still, Canelo does have to get past Jaime Munguia, which I think he will. But like, if he gets past Jaime Munguia, we can talk about that more. But to me, yeah, he's ducking. He's asking for a crazy amount of money. So, I mean, I don't even really want to talk about it anymore at this point.
Not even an easy fight, though. That's not an easy fight. Canelo's older and it's a younger guy. It's not a walkthrough for him.
I would say this. It's not like Canelo is old, he's crazy out of his prime. He's only like 33. So he's still got a lot to give. Yeah, so he's still got a lot to give. So I mean, I think it would be a great fight. So I think he's just afraid or he's ducking. I mean, but I think it would be a great fight. But like I said, the money that he's asked for is crazy ridiculous.
When I was a little younger, and let's say, for instance, I might hop up. It'd be the summertime. I remember me and my buddy, he used to go to Jackson State. So living in Milwaukee, we just hopped up. I'm talking, we hung out all day. And then one night we were talking, and he said, "Man, you want to go down to Jackson?" I looked, I said, "Man, I ain't got nothing to do. Let's go ahead and go." Nowadays, if I think about doing something like that, I definitely wouldn't do it. It's not worth it. You understand what I'm saying? I think what Canelo looks at in Benavidez is this. Yes, I'm 32, 33 years of age. I think I may have 2-3 years left at this level. If I mess around and fight him, I might just have that fight at this level because he might beat some of that, time out of me that I have left in the sport at this level. And so I think he's just thinking about how grueling it's going to be, even if he's successful against David Benavidez. I think that's what he's looking more so than anything else. It's two ways to look at this. Is Canelo doing this or is he doing this? The first thing is maybe he's throwing that astronomical number out there to the Saudis just so that they'll, let's say, for instance, he don't get 150, but they say, we'll give you 100 million. That might be the most money that he can get, dealing with a PBC, the zone and whatnot. You understand what I'm saying? So he's just throwing that number out there. I know dudes who used to, I ain't even gonna put that out. But sometimes when you ask for something, you be like, man, I want this. It could be an astronomical number in terms of if you asking somebody for some money. But they might say, man, all I got is $50. And you be like, in your mind, he like, I didn't even think they would give me anything, but they gave me 50 as a, you know what I'm saying? So he may be looking at it like that. Okay, I'm gonna throw that number out there. They got some bread out there in Saudi Arabia. Maybe they might give me 150 million. They might give me 100. They may, whatever it is that they do, it might be more than what I'm getting offered now for a David Benavidez fight. That's one way to look at it. The other thing is he could just be flat out ducking him. And it appears that way because he keeps coming up with different stuff and he's prolonging this fight. And with David Benavidez, bro, I hate that he's doing this, man, because he's gullible in this sense. Again, you got guys like Deontay Wilder, I think, is in this same category. I think Errol Spence is in that same category where they are true fighters. They want to prove that they're the best. But you have promoters, you have other entities that will use that against you. Oh, you supposed to be the best, and then fight this guy. This Alexander Gvozdyk fight, if Alexander Gvozdyk is 75% of what he was in that Better Beef fight, he's probably gonna knock Benavidez out. I'm telling you, I looked at the highlights of that man. The man put Superman in a coma. The man was boxing beautifully against Better Beef, and Better Beef, I think, is the monster for real as far as like punishing people when he coming in with them crisp shots. He was in there right there with them until Better Beef just broke him down later in that fight. Gvozdyk is a bad boy. He just looks a little, he's similar, but he looks a little slower now. And he may not have what it takes because he really hasn't fought at that level. He's been fighting like 8-round fights and stuff like that. But I'm saying, if he's like 75% of what I saw against Better Beef, your boy's going to have a tough day on his hands because that man can punch too. And the dudes he's beating, I'm seeing like he still got that power. But David Benavidez, you can't fight at 175 against that guy, come back to 168, and have a weight clause. Please, man. You not beating Canelo under that. You right up Canelo's alley. So again, is Canelo just throwing this astronomical number out there for the Saudis, or is he just this right here?
I have one question.
Canelo is ducking him.
You see that picture right there? Oh, sir.
Yeah, I see that clown.
Is that what Canelo looking at in the mirror when he thinks about David Benavidez?
Yes.
Do you think that might be retirement money by chance? Like,
he already got retirement money. Like, he just want more, I guess.
Saying, like, to end his career, like, that's the amount of money he wants to make, you know, like, because to me, that looks like an amount of money. Like, well, if I take the fight for this amount of money, you know, like, it's worth taking that L. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's kind of the way I see that.
Yeah, Canelo, that's the other thing. We talked about this last week. That's typically how it goes, man. You got the older Mexican fighter, and then the younger fighter is the one who knocks him off and takes over the reins. And Canelo's just not ready for that to happen, man.
Right.
He's just not ready for that to happen. Anything else you got on this? Right. It's just Canelo's not super old, but yeah, he's been pro nearly 20 years. He is, you know, as far as boxing years is concerned, you can add about 5, 6
out of you.
Yeah.
I'll just add, well, and I agree with you. He still has to get past the Gvozdyk dude, if I'm saying his name right. And I do think that is a tough fight. So both of these guys already got opponents in front of them. So if they get past their opponents, then, like I said, we can talk more. But I'm saying with Benavidez moving up to 175, he's got options there too. You know what I'm saying? I don't think Bivol or Better Biv would duck him or ask for this crazy money that Canelo is. So if he does get past his opponent, you know, then he's still got options in it at 175. So it's not like he don't have any options. You know what I mean? So I think he's still, you know, he's still got good names to fight. It's not just Canelo, even though Canelo is the one that everybody wants to see him fight. So like I said, if he goes at the 175, he got options.
Can I ask you fellas this? What do you think about his prospects at 175? What do you think his ceiling is at 175? As 175 is currently constructed.
I'll say, like I said, we got Better Biv and we got Bivol fighting. Like I said, I would like for him to fight, you know, the winner. I think both of those guys present good challenges for him. You know, Bivol doesn't have the power, but he's a workhorse. You know, he always comes forward, those punches nonstop, keeps you jabbing your face. And like I said, Better Biv got the power. So, but those are really the only two names that I can really think of right now. But both of them are good fights and dangerous fights. So.
Yeah, I agree with him. I think he has options. I hate the. I don't know. I'd like to see what happens in this next fight. Like he said, we can talk more then. But I would like to see the winner of that fight as well.
Yeah, I mean, he has options. It's just that really, I think he would just stand at 168 just for that Canelo fight. You know, of course, you have guys coming up in 168, like you have the David Morrells, but I think at 175, because it may suit his body better. I mean, he's basically added a wrinkle to his game, a wrinkle because you have guys like Anthony Yard that's there. You got other guys that's coming up. What's his name? Christian Billy, whatever, I think that's his name. So a lot of guys are coming up in the game, and this really Benavidez saying, "I'm leaving this Canelo business in 168 behind me. You know, I'm done with it."
Yeah, as I look at this, he said that he had some success against Bivol in sparring. Okay, cool. I don't like his chance against these two guys, 1 and 2. Anthony Yarde is going to be a tricky fight if he ever ends up facing him. It's going to be interesting to see. It's just no matter what Gazdic has left. The Gazdic, if he can recapture what he brought to the table in that fight against Beterbiev, I don't know if it's still there, because when he lost to Beterbiev, he ended up like quitting the sport. Like he was going to be done. So I don't know if you ever get that back truly, that fire. But we'll see. He still poses a very, very dangerous threat. As far as these other guys, just got beat down, Smith. And they were in the same weight class before. I think that he could overcome him. I don't know as much about Dan Aziz, and Bouassi doesn't look that much to me, just like a UK bloke to me. So it's open with the exception of the top guys, but here's the thing with Benavidez. I still think the jury's out. I think at 168, Cole, he's a good fighter, man. Very good fighter. I think his physicality, his endurance, his ability to throw punches, power punches, from 1 to 12 and just kind of beat guys down. I don't think he's going to have that same luxury because he's bigger than the dudes at 168. At 175, he's not going to be bigger than those guys, and he's going to be like right there for them to be getting off their stuff. So I don't know. You know what I mean? I don't like what I do like about him. I like his heart. I like the fact that that's what he wants to fight the best. And so I always root for those type of guys. But it's going to be interesting to see as far as the skill level at 175, how is that going to translate?
So, Will, what do you think that Benavidez should do?
I thought that he jumped the gun a little too soon. I think that he should stay at 168 and take on another, opponent. If I look up here, let me look at 168 and see what they have to offer. I wouldn't fight. Only reason I wouldn't take the Morrell fight is because I think that fight should be for like some marbles. You know what I'm saying? Like I think that they should be fighting for something as opposed to him just taking a match against somebody that's that dangerous and not for any like major titles or anything like that. So at 168, let's see what we have. I would have stuck around and maybe he could push for the Berlinga fight. You know what I'm saying? Or something like that. I mean, it's no names out here that's really sticking out. No, and again, that's just for you to stay, active, and you go ahead and apply more pressure on Canelo in order to make the fight. So Canelo, what you gonna do after I beat Berlinga? It's really nowhere for Canelo to go. Where would Canelo go if he ended up fighting Berlinga? Out of the guys that we have here, nobody wants to see any of those other dudes. Nobody really wants to see Berlinga, but they will because he has a name. So I would have tried to do something like that. I don't know if Berlinga would have acquiesced. I don't know if he would have, took the fight. And maybe he's waiting for the Canelo fight himself. So, but we'll see, man. Let me go ahead and go to these other topics to discuss. That's really good conversation right there.
He's ducking him.
Yeah, that's what he see when he look in the mirror. He's saying. All right, now, so again, we kind of talked about this a little bit, but he wants to do him in Vail. You kind of was upset with Turkey Al-Sheikh for wanting to set up some of the big fights at heavyweight, but he really wasn't interested in the other weight classes. But he wants to do something big for September. I'm gonna skip this right here and go to the next part. Now, are you guys familiar with this? Bill, you said it wasn't any information about Ryan Garcia.
No, I ain't hear about this one.
You fellas, are you familiar with the conversation between Shakur Stevenson and Ryan Garcia?
Believe it or not, no.
Tell you what I'll do. I got I'm gonna go to Exhibit A. Okay, so let me go ahead and listen to this. Give me about 30 seconds, and I'll put this information. I'm just gonna get your thoughts on this conversation between Shakur Stevenson and Ryan Garcia.
Gang, look, right? Will you pick me if you win April 20th? That's the question. I want the rematch for Tank. If I can't get that rematch, we'll start talking. God, bro. I do, bro. I think not everybody does since the beginning. That's a legitimate excuse. I told Charlamagne that I would fight you. Did I not? No, you barely said it. You said you wanted to fight. I didn't know people wanted to watch it. Did you know? I didn't know. Ain't nobody told me to fight you. Man, stop it, bro. You can stop cat, bro. Okay, bro. You don't think I'm exposing everybody being real. So okay, real, my boy. Okay, so I fought Gervonta. I'm fighting fucking Devin. You don't think I'm gonna fight you? Why would I not fight you? Okay, so can you give me your word that if you come out, fuck it, even if you don't come out victorious, I know I'm gonna come out victorious. Will you fight me next? Will you fight me next? If I don't get the rematch for Tank, I will do it. You got my word.
So that's the conversation right there. What are your thoughts on that fiery conversation between Ryan Garcia and Shakur Stevenson?
I don't like the conversation because this is why. Number one, they're not even in the same weight class. You know, Ryan Garcia is pretty much, I'm at 140. I'm not going to rehydrate or nothing. I'm at 140. Shakur really wants those guys. I don't know if he can fight at 140, but he's currently at lightweight. So really, the only guy he should be looking at is Tank Davis, because Tank still fights at lightweight. Devin Haney doesn't. You know, Devin Haney fights at 140. Ryan Garcia fights at 140. So they both have already moved up. So and I'm a big Shakur Stevenson fan, but if Shakur wants to fight those guys, he should campaign at 140 and take a fight at 140. That's what I think he should do. And plus, Ryan shouldn't even be. Why is he talking to Shakur Stevenson when he's preparing for Devin Haney? I'm not Devin Haney for Devin Haney. Why is he talking to Shakur Stevenson? That should be his only focus, Devin Haney. That's it. Because if he's not focused going to that fight, Devin Haney's gonna stop him. I really think when he show up to that fight, that Devin's gonna stop him.
You know. What about you?
If he doesn't pull out this fight.
He's gonna be there. What do you fellas think about the fiery conversation?
Yeah, I think he's definitely gonna be there. And to be fair, Shakur is right about one thing. He did not say that he wanted to fight Shakur. He said nobody is interested in Shakur and nobody wants to see a fight with Shakur. He never actually said. He said I don't even think he said he would fight Shakur. He was talking like it was too easy, and I'd like to see him fight Shakur. But I mean, right now, man, you got to focus on the fight in front of you. And oh my goodness, he's driving me crazy. I wish I just want to see like training footage of the guy just going 100%. I want to see the best Ryan Garcia, fighting Devin Haney, because you got to be the best. This has got to be the best fight of his career if he has any chance of pulling it off, And so he's, man, I'll give him his credit, man. He's made himself must-see TV. The only problem is he hasn't made the fight a must-see because, too many people question whether he's even going to show up. You know what I mean? Like, that can't help pay-per-view sales. That's only going to hurt. I wish he'd just put the phone down, put the cameras down, let somebody else hold the camera, go and start training. And you got a great trainer, who could come up with a great game plan for you. At the least, if you lose this fight, go out like a warrior, you know what I mean, and say I gave him my best shot. Like that's what I want to see from him right now. And I think he has a legit chance if he goes in the best that he possibly can be. I don't think he wins, but he has a legit chance. Like if the odds is big enough, I'd put money on him. If he comes in serious and everything, and there's still plenty of time So hopefully, like I wish he would just stick to what he said he was gonna do, and from now on only be talking about the fight, the current fight, the fight right in front of him, the guy that he needs to be focused on, which is Devin Haney, because that's a force to be reckoned with in itself, But I do give Ryan props. I don't think Ryan would back down. I do think Ryan would take the fight with him either way, I think he called it fair, because he definitely would want that Tank rematch first, which is a bad move for him, but whatever. I respect Ryan in that regard, that he is willing to step up and take these kind of fights. So, I don't think Ryan's the type of guy to back down. I think he's just a little out there at times,
Yeah. My thoughts on it is I agree with you guys 100. I think that Ryan Garcia needs to just focus on Devin Haney. Of course, we all know he's been going on the craziest rants in the past few weeks. So he needs to just focus on Devin Haney. Like, I don't think he's going to get past Devin Haney, but we have to wait to the outcome after April 20th. Then they can talk. When Shakur at the same time, Shakur didn't look good in his last fight, so I think Shakur should focus on somebody else to fight, and then once he looks good in his next fight, then he can have a conversation with with Ryan Garcia. But Shakur had a bad performance, so I mean, I that's a conversation I ain't really paying no mind to.
Yeah, I just don't think Ryan is that type. To borrow a phrase from the fellas from Philly, I just don't think he's that type of bull. I think he's the type of fella that is kind of all over the place. You know what I mean? He likes to kind of do a little bit of everything, but I think he's more focused on the fight than people think. He just wants to, like Mayweather. A lot of times you saw Mayweather out there like he partying and stuff like that, having a good time, throwing money and this and that, but he's training like a dang on maniac. And so you just never know.
But you knew it too, though. You knew he was training like that. That's the thing. You knew it. Like, even as much as he was partying, you knew he was still going hard every day in that gym.
Well, when I look at Ryan physique, he look like he's doing something.
Yeah,
you know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
so,
that's true.
The thing is this. More so to me, Shakur is the one who's coming across as being somebody who, I don't want to say nothing too negative about the gentleman, because he's young, but I just think that he needs to be a little bit more focused. That's why I like Devin the most out of all of these guys, because he seems to be more, his perspective is in the right direction. With Shakur, I'm looking at all of these different lightweights. Like, dudes, you haven't fought any of these dudes. You haven't fought Lomachenko, you haven't fought Tank, you haven't fought Zepeda, you haven't fought Pitbull, you haven't fought Frank Martin, you haven't fought even Kambosos. How do you talk to him? Like, talking about getting a fight with him?
Great point.
And then Ryan Garcia, it comes across as he's begging. It's like you got to the point now where you said, even if he loses, say you'll fight me, you will want that fight, as opposed to fighting these dudes. What if he gets smoked by Devin Haney? You still want the fight, regardless. Like, come on, man. Where's your hunger, like, to be like the best? And then everything else should come off of that. That's why I like Devin Haney more than all of these guys, because there's some information on here where he's talking about he wants to get all of the belts at 140s. He's not opposed to fighting Matias. He wants Teofimo Lopez next. That sort of thing. Because guess what? Those dudes are in his weight class. What are you doing, Shakur? Like, what are you talking about, man? You didn't even look comfortable against De Los Santos. Bro, like, these dudes, again, I don't get it. I come across as
jumping on and picking on Ryan Garcia bandwagon, man. He's just trying to pick on Ryan Garcia because, like, I think, like, I was fixing to say that I thought Ryan Garcia could get that fight even if he got smoked in his next fight. That he could still get that fight with Shakur if he wanted it. You know what I mean? So, I mean, like, that's more his losing scenario than his winning scenario in his mind, So, but like you said, he ain't fought none of these dudes. So, what are you talking about?
It's nothing to talk about until you go in there. Like, have the same energy for Lomachenko. For Zepeda just called you out, man. That's what you need to be worrying about. Like, go ahead and mix it up with him, man. Like,
Yeah.
come on, young brother. Now let me go ahead and move on. You got AB. This right here. I don't know how the fight gonna turn out. And I think that Blair Cobb is gonna smoke AB. But I tell you what's gonna be hilarious. Is gonna be the press conferences. Like you got AB, you know, everybody can get it, and then you got Blair Cobb. So I don't know, man. I think like I said, the press conference is gonna be hilarious. Not the fight, not so much. But what about you, fellas? What's your take on this matchup between Blair, the Flair Cobb, and Adrian, the problem Broner?
Hey, I'm just gonna be here for the press conferences. I think it's gonna be much better than the fight. Even though I think the fight, I mean, it'll be interesting to watch. But really, I think, like you said, Cobbs is more active. He's younger. So he should win this fight. But one thing I want to point out, though, is that if Adrian Broner is serious, even given his age and what he's been through, if he's serious, I think it'll be a tough fight because Blair is more susceptible to be hurt than I think even Broner is. When you watch Broner's fight, he always, you know, even though he gets hurt and stuff like that, he's always strong enough to pull it through where he doesn't get stopped. Where Kyle's has been embarrassed pretty much, you know what I'm saying? So I think at 100%, Broner would still give Blair Cobbs a tough go. But we look at what's been going on for Adrian Broner in the last 2 years, it's hard to say. So, but press conference is going to be fun to watch, though. This is the circus. I'd rather see this circus than the whole, like, Jake Paul fighting this guy or that guy, Mike Tyson. I'd rather see a circus like this with two actual fighters who are, professionals than the other circuses.
Blair's gonna smoke AB at this point. He's too active. He it's at welterweight. It had to be at welterweight, and so AB don't look nearly as good at welterweight as he does at 140. And 140, he just doesn't let his hands go. But at least he's kind of more physically imposing against those guys. At 140, he's so smallish. And then I just saw AB saying some nonsense on Instagram the other day, and he looked like he probably about 180 at least. So no, AB, stop it, bro. Hopefully Don King is getting them fellas some bread, and he can go ahead and make a nice little payday. But it's not going to end well for AB in this
one. About billions, baby. I love my guy AB. Man, my goodness, he's been so inactive. It's so hard to put my money on him. Know I'm fixing to lose it, but man, come on, AB, shock the world. I don't think he got a career in this world, but I love this guy to death, and I would love to see him come out there and pull it off. Like they said, at the most though, this guy is just next level entertaining, and I mean that's really what he brings to the table. Like I told Ty before, man, I was such a mega fan of Broner because this guy has not won one of his mega fights that he's ever had. Not one, but he's still a huge star. He's such a charismatic person. He's entertaining to watch, and I mean he has a chance if he comes in shape and lets some hands go. He has a chance. It's just not a big chance. He's too inactive at this point, I think, though, and it's probably not going to be a good night for him. And, just because I'm a fan of him doesn't mean I'm not a realist, too, I don't really think he has a great shot, but, man, I'm hoping the best for him. I don't want to see my guy get massacred out there, if I say that.
Yeah, it's a tough fight for me to call, but I agree with you guys. I think it's going to be a hilarious press conference, a hilarious build up, all the way up to fight night. But I'm reading Blair Cobbs just signed with Don King, so it just seems like they made this happen pretty fast, and Broner confirmed it. So, but yeah, man, I mean Blair Cobbs, he got stopped by Alexis Rocha. He was still punching after he got stopped punching the rough, and he beat former champion Mari Tucker. But I don't. Even though Mari Tucker was a former champion, I didn't really think he was all that. So it's tough for me to call this one, man. I don't know, man. I can even see a draw happening in this fight, but if
No.
Broner lets his hands go, then and he's in that zone, then he can win. But like you said, Wilton, like Broner's a big guy, man. I mean, what weight class is he supposed to be at? So I mean, I don't know, man.
147. I'm sure 147, but they've been saying that almost 10 years now. Like when is that going that facade is gonna, or that
and when he gonna let his hands go?
Yeah, like he keeps saying that.
Every fight.
So I learned that with Broner. Like Broner, that's why I mentioned last week when I said Ryan Garcia, what he was doing initially was having a built-in excuse for the fight. Because I've seen that over and over again, not necessarily the erratic behavior that he was exhibiting, but I see how fans will fall for the okie doke each and every time. AB will fight somebody, he'll act like his built-in excuses was this. This was his defense mechanism. Oh, I'm not focused. I'm over here partying. I'm doing this. That's his built-in excuse. So what everybody's going to say, if Broner was focused, then he's going to be able. So then they'll give him a pass again. He'll fight somebody else. And he'll be like, man, if he focused, he might be able to get this one against this person. He do the same. It's like rinse and repeat the same thing. And I'm like, dude, you going to when has he
where his skills at? So I mean, come on, man. You saw in the Garcia fight where his actual skills are at. You know, like come on.
Against who though, Shane? Like who when you say his skills? Give me the.
No, I'm saying like the best he can do is probably what he done in his Pacquiao fight, what he done in the Mikey Garcia fight. If he does, quote unquote, let his hands go, the fight is, you know, I think it's more of a chance of him getting stopped. And like you said, he comes up with built-in excuses. Like, I'm a fan of this guy because he hasn't won a major fight and he is still such a mega star, you know, like that. There's an art to that, you know.
Right.
And like you said, he's putting on a facade, and you know, you see right through it. But a lot of people don't. But that is it. It's a facade. I'm saying, when I saw him fight Mikey Garcia, there was no doubt in my mind who the better boxer was, you know, and that fight to me more than any showed like where his skill set is, because during the Porter fight there was a bit of, you know, if he let his hands go more, maybe he would have, you know, maybe would have been able to stop Porter. Maidana just put it on him and overwhelmed him, but I gave him a lot of credit for his toughness in that fight, and I think a lot of people do after they watched the Mayweather fight. You know, like they gave Broner a lot more credit. Even Floyd himself gave Broner a lot of credit for his toughness and everything. But I mean, it's really hard to say where he's at now. You know, he's so inactive. Like, you know, 2 years is a lifetime. You know what I mean? And every fight, you know, that he comes back for now, it's like huge layoffs, man. You got to get, if you're at this point, you got to be active aim if you're gonna, you know, even put 1 foot in. You know, you got to dive in at this point. And you know, yeah, I really think it's going to be bad for him, to be honest.
Yeah, because and just imagine, like, even you look in the back, you got the Hutchinson. Like, he didn't look good to me against those last two dudes. He
didn't. He didn't at all. I agree.
The only good thing is that he ended up with a victory. Val, you got anything else?
Yeah. He said he beat him. He beat Pacquiao. He said, I beat him. Pacquiao didn't land nothing. Hey, B, about business. You know, anyone can get it. American, African, Mexican, Blair Cobra can.
Yeah, folks.
I just want to closer than people give it credit for, though.
Yeah, absolutely.
The fight was closer than I think people give it credit for.
Yeah, I think it's the Patrick Mahomes type thing, though, too. Sometimes when like I'm looking at the Chiefs. So, for instance, I watched them play against the Ravens in the playoff game that they upset the Ravens, right? Now, they didn't score much in the second half. I don't even know if they scored much in this. I don't even know if they scored at all in the second half. But I think they could have scored more. They just didn't want to give the Ravens an opportunity, like making an unforced error, like giving them an interception or something like that. So they played it safe. And okay, if you do more, then I'll do more. And I think that's what Pacquiao was doing in that fight. It's like, okay, you know, I'm up, so let me just do it just enough to go ahead and get this victory because I don't want to give you an opportunity to land something and then reverse the, you know, outcome of this fight. So I think it'd be things like that. Yeah, it was closer than probably what people expected. But once I get out to this, you know, you know, I'm up on the scorecards, then I'm not gonna, you know, put myself in a position to get knocked out or anything like that. But I do got some breaking news for you, fellas. I just found this out right here. Sources says that Jose Ramirez, he's going to be facing Francis Bartholomew, and that's going to be April 27th on a fight card that has Virgil Ortiz fighting Thomas Delorme. Do you think that that's a good fight for both of those guys?
I definitely don't think Thomas Delorme should be anywhere near Virgil Ortiz.
After his health issues?
Yeah.
Okay.
And Francis Bartholomew. I mean, man. I mean, that's a good first fight for Ramirez, but I think Bartholomew is still lower tier than Ramirez. I think that's like a fight that you give Ramirez when he's coming off a loss or something like that. That's not. I don't like neither of these fights. And it's funny because you really can't say, well, Ramirez, why don't you just fight Ortiz? Like the winner, the best fighters of them should fight each other because they're kind of different weight classes. So Delorme really, I think, is a 140 pounder, just blown up to be whatever Ortiz is going to fight at. So I think it's going to be 154, right? Ortiz doesn't fight at welterweight anymore.
Correct.
So that's 154. So you're already fighting a guy who the best days was at 140, like almost 10 years ago when he was getting knocked out by whoever. You know?
So
I just fight gets sexual, man.
No, I think it's a good fight for both guys to get for different situations. Jose Ramirez hasn't fought in over a year. So you want to get him back in the ring and you want to get him fine-tuned. You know, Francis Bartholomew is always in like kind of close fights. And so he's going to get some good work from Francis Bartholomew. So I think that's good on that end. As far as Virgil Ortiz, you want him to get fully acclimated, you know, to 154. You want him to get back in the ring, get another training camp in with the condition that he has and see how it goes.
Against Thomas Delorme, though?
I don't care who it is. I think Delorme, when you got somebody who's falling out and damn near dying, then yeah, you want to put him in there against. You don't want to get the man killed. You want to see where he is. So this is a perfect fight against a guy who's a veteran. And if it's a first round, second round, I think Delorme probably make it second, third round. But at the same time, you just want the dude to be clicking. You want him to be back where he was before he was falling out with the blood condition that he had. So I think from that standpoint, it's a good card for him at this particular stage. If he was like on point, like he was on his game and he was really fine-tuned, then no, it wouldn't be a good fight. But right now, with the health issues that Virgil Ortiz has been experiencing the past few years, then yeah, it's a good fight. You know, hopefully the tickets aren't high, you know what I'm saying? But at the same time, you know, I think Golden Boy is finally doing something good for Virgil Ortiz. What about you fellas, man? Like I say, breaking news here on Last Ones at the Bar, just fresh off the press, you know?
I go. I'll say when I first saw the news, I didn't know about the opponents until you brought that up. But when I first saw the news, I thought it was actually Ramirez versus Ortiz. But salute to Chris G, he corrected that for me. But I like both fights, and I say that because Francis, far as Ramirez and Bartholomew is a former champion. And I mean, he's a former champion, and of course, you know, he had that controversial stoppage when he fought Gary Antoine Russell. So I don't think that fight should have been stopped. So this is a chance, you know, to get in there and have another good fight. But as far as Virgil Ortiz, like, I'm with you on that. That was good points. Thomas Delorme, he is the guy that got knocked out like by Boots in the first round, I believe. But at the same time, like Virgil Ortiz, we haven't seen enough of him at 154. We only seen one round. You know what I mean? One round, the fight was stopped. So I think this is a chance for him to, you know, to get some rounds in and, you know, see how he does at 154. But I do think he knocks out Thomas Delorme. Delorme is very chinny. So I'm cool. I'm cool with both fights.
Yeah, I'm cool with them too. Clear cut winners, but I look forward to seeing them, man. I mean, I agree with you. I think it's the right call for sure. So not really much to say. I think it's a good. I think a good fight under the circumstances and everything. But I actually thought that it was going to be the two guys fighting each other as well. I thought it was going to be them fighting Ortiz, but I'm cool with it. I mean, especially. Like you want to make sure your guy's good and healthy and everything, and the only way you can really see that is under the bright light. So, let's go see it.
Yeah, look like Will got booted off, Bill.
Oh, yeah, you see that. Will got booted off, man. But I'll just say, man, Canelo ducking him, man. I see how you done talking about it.
Ain't nothing ever been more obvious than that, huh?
Yeah.
I mean, it could not be more obvious. And that's regardless of how you feel about Canelo, because, I've done said all the things you could say for him. He ain't got nothing else to prove. He ain't got to fight nobody, And I like the fight. I think I was telling Ty, I was actually pulling for Munguia to get this fight for him. Because I like the kid, so this is his best chance to get the fight, so luckily there's a guy that he wanted to take less.
Anyway, so let me go back. Let me look at this Thomas Delorme. All right. This dude, let's see. He lost his last 3 fights. He did get a win. I think it was almost 2 years ago, 2022. He got a win. But 3 years ago, since his knockout loss to Jaron Ennis. And then before that, lost to Stanionis. Didn't get stopped in that fight, but then he lost to Jamal James. And of course, he got his losses earlier in his career with Crawford. I mean, I don't know. I think I'm talking about Thomas Delorme, putting him in there with Virgil Ortiz. I understand why that you want to put Ortiz in there with some safe touches. I just think there's better safe touches than Thomas Delorme. I'm concerned for Delorme's health right here, to be honest.
Yeah, the fight with Delorme, like with Boots and Delorme, Delorme landed some big shots on Boots. You know what I mean? He landed some big shots, but like Boots was just too powerful, too strong. And that's why I like the fight. I like the fight. I do think Virgil stops him, but like I said, I still want to see Virgil Ortiz and Boots, because both of those guys are big guys. And if Virgil Ortiz looks healthy, and if Oscar De La Hoya is willing to work out a deal with Boots in the future, that's the fight that I'm looking forward to even more than Boots and Crawford, which everybody wants. But I'll settle for Boots and Virgil Ortiz. Like I said, I've been calling for that fight for a long time. And I also say I had the opportunity of seeing Boots fight live a few times, and I also seen Virgil Ortiz fight live. So both of those guys got awesome power. Like I said, both big guys. So that's a fight that I would love to see. And I think that's a blockbuster fight. It's a super fight. It's a huge pay-per-view fight. So I'm definitely pushing for that fight.
Yes, sir. Got my man on here, man. Let me go ahead and get Sheldon. I put that disclaimer, so you don't know. I already know, man.
What's up, fellas? What's going on, man? I'm a little late to the party. A little busy this morning, but
good though, man.
What was y'all talking about just now? Boots is talking about fighting Virgil?
Virgil Ortiz versus Thomas Delorme.
Yeah,
come on, man. Really?
Yeah, man. He's trying to get him back right, man.
Really?
Yeah.
Come on, man.
Man,
you guys Is this at 54? Is this at 54?
Yeah, he got to get back right, man.
Oh, come on, man. You bring it up to 35-pounder to 50. All right. Okay.
Yeah. Listen, he signed the contract, brother.
Yeah, he signed the contract. He's right. He signed the contract.
And I mean, Wilder signed the contract too. So what's the difference?
Yeah, I know, right? I know, but hey, look, I'm not mad at that. You got two guys that are stationary guys that go stand in front of each other. Whoever get hit first. That's all. You know. Oh, T-Tits just told me that Wilder and Zhang, you know, for the first June.
Yeah. Okay.
Two big flat-footed stationary guys who gonna stand in front of each other.
My question is,
because we've seen what happens to both of those guys when somebody moves on them, right?
Right, but what does that have to
We've
do
seen that.
He's fighting Delorme, though. That's what I'm trying to figure out. Like, how did that even get part of the? Like, what am I missing? Though? Like, how what do you mean?
Hey,
my man brought that up
early on. You said early on that you didn't like that fight for Wilder, but Wilder signed too. He signed the fight.
What I'm saying, so I gave you my rationale, and I said at the end of the day, I love it because I like Wilder's kahunas. The fact that I can't tell a man if that's what you want to do, you want to give me all the smoke. I'm just telling you to be careful of how they're putting you in the ring, like why they're doing it. But as far as you should always want, and that's what I love about the guy is that he
like
wants
Thomas Delorme. Thomas Delorme always want to fight that guy.
Question, sir. Let me ask this question: Is Wilder or any of those guys, do they have a medical condition where they fainted several times before fights, where they're on the verge of dying? Like, have they been in that situation? No. They're not. So if a guy is like medically has that type of condition, I want to make sure that you're okay. So I'm gonna put you in there with a veteran, fighter. You the one who said in previous podcasts, you the one talking about Roberto Duran and these guys would fight somebody that was a soft touch or James Toney and all that type of stuff. Why this dude can't do it when he has a medical condition?
Because he hasn't had one big fight yet. What I'm saying is this. This is not what I'm saying. I'm not saying don't fight at soft touch. What I'm saying is better soft touches at 154 than somebody that doesn't fight at 154.
Well, you got to understand too that the last fight he had lasted what, 12 seconds, 13 seconds, something.
Yeah, he ain't gonna get no more rounds against Thomas Delorme.
He'll get more than 13 seconds, I assure you.
What he's gonna get is another.
He'll get more than the 13 seconds he got in his last fight, I assure you.
He can fight Austin Trout for that. You know what I'm saying?
But he's not trying to fight Austin Trout because he might get beat by Austin Trout. He's not trying. He's trying to build himself. He's trying to get into the title picture. You take a soft touch. Now after that, you got to fight somebody in the top 5 if you want a title shot. After you get some rounds in, but not right now. He ain't had no rounds at 154. You got to give him that. My man Will brought up the point about Wilder. None of these dudes have medical conditions. Well, none of these dudes you talk about Wilder, them dudes have to cut weight. This dude has to cut weight, and he was trying to cut too much because he was too big for 147 the whole time he was there. He was too big for that division.
So they want to see the man on several occasions. When they made it to the press conferences, the dude is fainting. He's falling out. So they want to make sure that they go through another training camp, another press tour, and all of this type of stuff. See how the dude looks. Like, okay, maybe you shouldn't be fighting at all. Like, if you can't do that, the fight that you fighting is not even really the big thing. I just want to see you go through that process and that you're okay. Come on, man. I don't get the man crazy, man. David Haney, man, like I said, he's one of my favorites, man. Deontay Wilder, Devin Haney. Any of those dudes who want all the smoke. I think Better Beef is in that category too. He's eyeing undisputed status at 140 despite the obstacles. What do you think the chances are of him? I'm saying, like, if he gets a chance to face, I'm not even putting Rolly and Pitbull. I think he'll whoop them dudes. But the Matiases and the Teofimo Lopez, do you like his chances of becoming undisputed at 140 like he was at 135?
I like his chances.
No.
The funny thing about it is individually, I can see him beating any one of those guys individually. The hard part is seeing it collectively. It's seeing him beating all those guys collectively and not taking a loss. That's the hard part. So
he's struggling to make 40 now. He's struggling now.
Yeah, but let's say if Tszyu beats Matias or something like that, one of them knocked the other one out, and he fights another guy for 2 or 3 of the belts. I can see that, and I would bet all my marbles on Devin Haney to beat whoever that is. But taking one of those guys one at a time, I think is kind of hard for him. But respect to the man for wanting to do that.
I just don't know if he's gonna be at the division long enough to get undisputed because he's struggling to make 140 right now. They just put out a video of him struggling to make 140 against Regis.
Yeah, he'd be all right. You know what I'm saying? What about
So
you
he's
fellas?
struggling
I
now.
gotta jump in, man. Like once you know my main man Sheldon get in there, you just gotta jump in, man. Like we go ahead and get the cooking. This is the pressure cooker right here. What do you fellas think though? You think that what is this chance that becoming undisputed at 140?
Very good if he can get the fights, man. This guy will fight anybody. I gotta give the man his credit, man. The man will fight anybody. I love the guy. I got nothing but respect for him. And I mean, if he says that's what he wants to do, he's gonna go out there and do everything he can to make that happen. So that's all I got to say about it. I think the man can do it, and if he stays there, man, he definitely got it. You know, his work ethic will get him to that 140 weight. I promise you that.
Yeah, I think he's definitely one of the fighters that can do it. You know what I'm saying? He's fighting the best, you know. Beat Cambosis 2 times in his backyard, stepped it up and fought a champion, you know, Pro Grace. Now he's fighting Ryan Haney. So he's a guy that's showing that he wants to fight the best. So I'm with it. You know, I'm with it. I do want to see him fight Matias, but I still think he beats Matias because Matias, you know, he starts off slow. But Matias, like once he start letting them hands go, like he gets in that zone. I just wonder how Devin Haney would deal with that power. But you know, Matias isn't fast on his feet like a Lomachenko. So that's one fight I'm really interested to see. But I think Devin Haney definitely beats Matias by decision.
Yeah, and he's teachable, man. He got that coachable quality about him, you know, to keep sharpening his tools, man. Like more than anybody, like one thing you said earlier, Will, he's one of the most focused guys in the game. You know, his eyes on the prize, and he focused 100% on what's in front of him. And if anybody can do it, it's Devin for sure.
That's what I like about him. He has that redeeming quality of like when you listen to him, right? Is he says the type of stuff that you want a fighter to say, you know, like, and it's not phony. It's like legitimate, and that I really appreciate that. Now, going back to Shakur, that's what disappointed me about Shakur. I thought Shakur was more like that than he is, but him not accepting the 25% or whatever it is that they offered him, that's looking like a sweet deal now. The fact that before that, because that was before the De Los Santos fight. Now that he had the De Los Santos fight, his stock is so low. And it's like when you look, what options does he have really that's going to give him more than what he would have got if he would have took the offer from Devin Haney and Bill? And that would have given him the opportunity. I think him and Tank made a fatal mistake by not taking Devin at 135 when he was kind of draining himself. I should say kind of, but he was draining himself to make the weight, and he was like trying to make the fights, especially with Tank. But they did say that they were offering him, and he said that they offered him 25%, but he felt like he deserved 50-50. Nah, good brother. No, good brother. You should have took that offer right there. That was see the thing in life, man. Timing is everything. And you could have called him just like when Floyd was waiting for Canelo and his team to say, "Well, we'll fight you at 152 or 153." Oh, you will? Okay, we'll take that. Just like this is what Canelo's doing. Like he's fishing around, he's waiting. He's like, okay, Benavidez says he's going to go up to fight that man, and you said you willing to do a clause. Okay, I bet you Canelo will go ahead and take that. Then, because he's striking when the iron is hot, he's just waiting for you to make that mistake. And they're good. They're so calculated that they're calculated in and outside the ring. But yeah, that's all I got on it. Anybody else got anything on that?
Well, that's one good thing about Devin. Like, I think not only does he want to fight the best, I think he wants the best version of you. You know,
Right.
like, which is a rare thing in boxing today. Like, you know, like, because like you said, I mean, most people just going, all right, you know, you want hydration class, fine. Devin is not like that. Devin is that guy, like, you know, he really wants the best version of the, you know, he wants to beat the best fighter. He doesn't want any excuses at the end of it. And I feel like if he lost, you know, he'll hold his head high and say, you know, he lost to a better man.
Mm-hmm. I agree too. Yeah. And the other thing too, as far as Devin, is the other thing that they made a mistake on is they allowed him to not only get all of those belts, so he's undisputed, he's done something that you dudes didn't do. And then on top of that, when he was trying to fight you when he was weak, he goes up and fights Regis and puts on an outstanding performance. So now it's like you can't justify not fighting him. It's like, how can you, like, you know what I mean? Like, and he was in your weight class for all of that time, Abdul. You know, so I don't know, man. Let me go ahead.
Abdul say he a legend.
Okay, Abdul. You know, y'all want to talk about Crawford ducking boots? Or
I don't want to talk about that.
What about you, fella?
Crawford gonna fight the winner of Tszyu and Sebastian Fundora.
Y'all fellas want to talk about boots getting ducked or no?
I think stop ducking him, man. Stop ducking him. Like Boots, man. He brings a lot to the table. We love Boots. The fans love Boots. You know what I'm saying? Like saying he don't bring nothing to the table would be like Floyd Mayweather saying Canelo doesn't bring nothing to the table. You know what I'm saying? Like which he could have said at that time. You know,
at the time, Canelo had the lineal like 154-pound title.
Yeah, you know, I mean, I'm just saying. Boots is the name. Boots is the guy. You know, I mean, fight the guy, fight the man. You know what I'm saying? Like everybody wants to see that. Like I think Ty said there's another fight he wants to see a little bit more than that. What was the fight you want to see more than that one?
Who was that, Ty?
Yeah.
Well, I was just gonna say it's obviously Crawford wants to move up in weight. You know, him and Spence rematch was supposed to be at 154. So it's obviously the guy wants to move up in weight. Whether it's 54, 60, 68, it don't look like he wants to stay at 147 and fight Boots. So, like I said, I'm cool with Crawford and Tszyu if he gets past Fundora. I'm cool with Crawford. Like I said, I don't want to see Chris Eubank, but I mean, I'll watch it. And like I'm cool with him wanting to fight these guys in a higher weight class.
I'm not. Well, especially he definitely has to be done at 147. You can't fight anybody else at 147. But the comment that kind of sticks with me is what Shane was saying as far as people bringing stuff to the table. Like that just rubbed me the wrong way, because if you're gonna fight somebody who brings the most to the table in terms of like who people perceive as a threat, then it's Boots. It wouldn't even be okay, Boots, let's fight at 154. If you want to fight, let's go ahead and go up there and get busy. I still think that most of the guys that he would face at 154, Boots is the one who would I even think that the fight would do well, because of the fact that a lot of times what people think, they think about popularity and stuff like that. A lot of times what fans salivate for is good fights. Like if it's a 50-50 fight, then it'll sell more than what you would think, because both guys really hasn't done much as far as pay-per-views. But when people know and that ground roots wave comes about, as far as everybody talking, oh man, he's gonna fight Boots. Yeah, then you're gonna go ahead and do some really good numbers, sir.
But isn't that the same thing that Bill Haney said about Shakur Stevenson? That Shakur Stevenson doesn't bring anything to the table before they moved up?
Offered him 25% though, sir. They gave him an offer.
That is true.
Boots got better ass.
Hold on, let me ask you a question, Will. What is the mandatory split for a challenger in the WBC?
The mandatory split?
Yeah, for mandatories get a certain percentage in any sanctioning body.
Mm-hmm.
So what's the mandatory split for a challenger versus a champion? I think it's 75-25, if I'm not mistaken.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, something like that. Yeah.
Yeah. So what do you think you're supposed to get? Nobody cares about what you did at 126 or 130. You at 135, and you are the number one contender. What are you supposed to get? You're supposed to get what a contender gets, 25%.
Right.
Yeah, that's looking pretty good right now. Come on, man.
Right. Oh man, I'm gonna go ahead. I'm gonna go to a couple more, and then we can go ahead and wrap this one, because it's a beautiful day outside.
Yeah, so I gotta get out of here, guys. So
go ahead, man. Peace out, man. We'll do a couple more, man.
I know.
Good week, man. You know,
you have a great time in Costa Rica. I just want to say that.
Yeah, you gonna be on next week, or are you gonna be back next week, or it's gonna be 2 weeks from now?
Nah, I'll be back Friday. Yeah, I'm coming back Friday.
Oh, okay.
So I'll be
I just want to say that he's ducking him. Canelo's ducking him. That's my word.
Oh, for sure. Yeah, I think we all in agreement on that.
Yeah, we know that. That's what the 200 million is about. We all know that.
Shout out to you, Sheldon, Shane, Ty, Will.
All right, fellas.
All right, peace.
Have a good day. Watch the tournament and enjoy yourselves on this beautiful Sunday.
Yeah, that's Vail getting up out of here, man. A couple more, then I'm gonna let you fellas, enjoy your Sunday. But Keyshawn Davis, what do you guys think about Keyshawn, man? And then also him wanting Emmanuel Navarrete. Me personally, I think he's eating off Shakur's plate because I think Shakur was saying he wanted the same thing. But what are your thoughts? What are your thoughts on this fight? Do you like it for Keyshawn? Do you think that's something that he should be getting, as far as with top rank? And is that good for Emmanuel Navarrete?
I like it for Keyshawn. I think what he's doing hopefully is like trying to build a name for himself. That's where like the little dispute with Tszyu come from. He's really just lining up his future. You know what I'm saying? Like getting the stars to align for him. And I like him in that fight as well. So I think it ain't nothing but good for him if he gets it. I hope he gets it. Actually, I'd be pretty excited to watch that fight.
Yeah, I think Keyshawn, he's biting off more than he can chew. He's still young in his career and everything. He doesn't have that many fights. He was just calling out Teofimo Lopez and had a little dispute with Teofimo Lopez. So he wanted that fight, and now he wants Navarrete. I think both of those fights are too early for him at this stage in his career. I think he needs a couple more fights under his belt to get those names. But at the same time, he's doing what any fighter should be doing, calling out the best, showing that he's hungry and he wants those fights. But Navarrete and Teofimo Lopez, both of those fights, I think is a little too early for him at this stage in his career. But salute to him, calling out those guys.
You think this is a more winnable fight, though? Like, you think this is a more winnable fight for him than Teofimo Lopez?
I think Navarrete is actually a tougher fight than Teofimo Lopez. Lopez had some questionable performances, against Sandor Martin. He lost to Cambosis, so he's had some questionable performances, but Navarrete's to me is on a different level. So I would rather him fight Teofimo Lopez than Navarrete.
But what didn't Navarrete just have a close one with Concepcion?
Yeah, I think he did. I didn't see that fight though, so I can't speak too much on that one.
Yeah, that was a close one right there. But I don't know. I think it was a draw or something like that. But that would be a good fight for him as far as the name recognition. And I think it's a toss up, but I think Navarrete might just be a little too small at 135 if that's where the fight is going to take place. Because even against Concepcion, I think that's at 130. And I think it appeared that he might have been biting off a little bit more than he could chew then. But he's a bad boy. I like the way he fight. I like his heart. I like the them combinations that he be throwing and them crazy shots from crazy angles. So, but it'll be a good fight, for him. They got a couple more for you. It's rumors, man, that Errol Spence fired Derek James. Now it may not be true. And it may be true. The thing is, what people are speculating on is if you look and they talked to Derek James, he did an interview, and in the back where Errol Spence, where his bag and stuff was that said his Errol the True Spence like logo and stuff like that, all that stuff was gone. Errol Spence said that he's trying to find a new home. Some people also speculating that he didn't like the exchange between Ryan Garcia's father and Devin Haney when he was talking about their hair and all of that type of stuff. So let's say, for instance, that do you think that Errol Spence should consider, even if he hasn't already decided to part ways with Derek James, do you think he should consider doing it?
I think Errol Spence should consider retiring. The only fight that I would like to see Errol fight that he hasn't fought is Keith Thurman. I mean, I would pay to see that fight, but just because there was a lot of build up for it, And for both guys at this point in their career, it's still an interesting fight. But I'm concerned for Earl, and I hate to see him. That's really the only thing that I think that he's got left that I would even want to see. Like and this is a big fan. I'm a big fan of Earl's, and I just if he's not fighting Thurman, I would like to see him just go ahead and step down, man. His health is a concern right now, and that's the main thing to me. I think he could win that fight against Keith Thurman, and I think it would just be good for him to go out on a win, and I mean, even if he lost it, I mean, that's great for Keith Thurman and his career, so really there's nothing else I can think of that I would want to even see Earl have a fight with anybody, like I'm seriously am concerned about his health, and he's not the same guy that he used to be, and that's evident. So, and that's definitely not Derek James' fault. As far as I didn't like those comments either from Ryan Garcia's father, so I do understand that, but I mean, that to me that doesn't have a whole lot to do with Derek James. I don't think Derek James liked those comments either, so I don't think that has a whole lot to do with him. So if he's parting ways with Derek James, hopefully he's just stepping down. I would like to see him just step down and retire unless that Thurman fight gets announced.
Yeah, I heard these rumors too. I don't really know what to think about it, but Shane made some good points. Spence, he's been in a car accident. He's had 2 surgeries on his eyes, so that raises concern. I mean, that definitely raises concern. If he takes on another big fighter, how's his eyes going to react? How's his sight? Is he going to pass the exams and all that? So but I will say Derek James went from trainer of the year to like one of the worst trainers. Charlo lost to Canelo. Charlo didn't do good in that fight against Canelo. Spence took a beating against Crawford. Frank Martin, he had some his last performance raised some questions. So if it is true, I don't have an issue with it. I just hope that he would pick a good trainer that can definitely change some things up in his game. I mean, he only lost one fight. He only lost one fight, but he lost badly. So I mean, if it is true, I just hope he picks a great trainer. No, we just seen this happen with Deontay Wilder, and then the new trainer he picked, he ended up losing 2 fights with. So I just don't want to, Spence to end up picking a worse trainer. He takes another loss. But like I said, I agree with Shane, man. I think Spence at this stage, with the accident, the eye surgeries, maybe he should just consider retirement.
Yeah, I just who would he go with? You know what I mean? I think that Derek James, that was a pretty good fit. It's just like who could he add to his team, or who could he get as a coach that's going to help him build on what it is that the foundation of what Derek James laid? That's the question to me, and that relationship, that rapport. It could be very well that he's just moving locations, because in that Derek James gym, they don't have like AC and all of that type of stuff, and maybe he's past that, and he wants a home that is more like modern with air conditioning and stuff like that, where you don't want to do the same thing he was doing before, because it obviously didn't work against Terrence Crawford, and he just thinks this is a better way to approach the tape. So it could just be that. I'm not sure. I would also want, if he did decide to get a new set of eyes in his corner, to keep Derek James and then just add somebody else who's going to teach you, some other stuff. Last but not least, one thing I think that they made a mistake on is I thought Errol Spence at his best, he had Blu-ray, that the guy who was kind of doing his physical training and stuff like that too. And he had Errol looking like kind of invincible as far as like his ability to like rev it up and the gears that he can go to. He looked great under him. And he has a new guy that he had for the Crawford fight, and he didn't look nearly the same. So those are the things that I would consider if I was Errol Spence. But you also right. If he's going to look like he did against Crawford, And then he also has a few more things that's concerning, as far as like the cataracts and all of that type of stuff. Then he might want to consider hanging him up. Last but not least, man, you got the big fight card next week, but also be on the lookout Friday. You got Oscar Valdez. He's going to be in action against a gentleman. I don't know who that dude is. And then you got the ladies that's going to be on the card as well. So I'm going to end on that, man. Anything else you guys have as we wrap this one up? I certainly appreciate you coming on, man. I think that was a good ep. Shout out to you, Shane. Shout out to you, my main man, Ty, from In This Corner. But anything you guys have as we wrap this one up?
No, I just want to say, man, definitely probably going to cover, the fight, next Saturday. I was looking forward, to Keith Thurman, but a lot of people think, the fight with Fundora is actually the better fight. So definitely probably gonna make that happen.
Gotcha. Yeah. Man, I got to say, I want to just say this one thing about Earl that I noticed over not just the last fight, but the fight before that with Porter. Maybe that was the fight before that. The last few, actually, his reaction time and everything, that's what was really concerning to me. And it could be, I don't think it would be James, though. Like maybe what you said, strength and conditioning coach and everything, and might have played a factor. But I think it's more just the surgeries and everything. It was concerning to me that, his reaction time and his counter-punching ability and everything was not there like it was before. I don't think Earl should. I still think he has enough to beat a Keith Thurman, though. That's what I was saying there. Other than that, man, just check me out on Real Shane Salas on Instagram, and man, it's been fun.
Yes, sir. But speaking of that, and I don't want to keep you fellas too much longer, but like going into, and that would have probably been a good fight for him to take before the Crawford fight, but I don't know how if he just had one last go round as far as making 147, and he was just going to do that for a Crawford fight. But I thought that Keith Thurman would have been a good bout for him to take, kind of like not necessarily a tune-up because Thurman is better than a tune-up, but it still is one, just based on their styles, you would lean towards Errol because of the body work that he does, and Keith looks so vulnerable to the body. And it just looks like that would be a good matchup for him. And then just get you prepped and fine-tuned going into the Crawford fight. So I still think, like you say, that'd be a good matchup from the standpoint that he's a ferocious body puncher and Keith doesn't like it to the body, But we'll see what Errol does, man. He always has my support. My favorite fighters, man, Errol Spence, Deontay Wilder, Devin Haney. Like, I'm always going to support them dudes, win or lose, because I think that they be going for the, the toughest guys. And when you have, I like Charlo. Charlo is one of my favorites too. I just didn't like the approach that he took against Canelo. I didn't like the press conferences, like how he wasn't as feisty as he normally is. Then when he got in the ring, it seemed like he kind of, I don't want to say gave up, but he was willing to just let things play out the way they played out against Canelo.
I do respect that he stepped out there at the end and said, "I gave my best" and everything. No, like that's a rare thing you see today. I respected that part of it.
Yeah.
He come out there and I gave my best.
Yeah,
but he did kind of give up, though.
Yes, sir. Man, I'm gonna go ahead and close this one out. Like I said, I'm on vacation, man. I'm gonna go ahead and watch me a couple of these games. Have me a little bit of this Mexican food. See if I can chop it up with a few chicas over there as well, and then have a great rest of the day before I head out tomorrow. But you fellas, man, certainly appreciate you, and we'll catch you next time, man. All right.
All right.
Peace. All right. Peace.
Take care.
Let me close.